Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friday Night Contact on the TARDIS Zone. Tonight, we're talking James Gunn, Superman Legacy. He gives us a release date. He's also talked to animators over Wonder Woman. We'll be discussing that as well. DC announced DC Pride 2023. Batman will return in the Batman Part 2. I mean, that's predictable. Robert Pattinson's Batman may not appear in the new Penguin spin-off due to some legal reasons. And James Gunn and Ben Affleck apparently had a meeting to discuss Ben directing some movies, and Ben Affleck's response is savage, and we'll be talking about that. Zack Snyder announces SnyderCon as well. Marvel news, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania is being smashed in the box office by Puss in Boots. We'll be discussing Marvel in some depth tonight. Marvel Studios also asked a district judge to issue a subpoena to Reddit because someone on Reddit leaked the whole script of Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania, and they want answers. And a new Black Marvel superhero is to tackle racism. We'll be talking Oscars, the winners. We'll be talking about Jamie Lee Curtis in particular because she's gone off the rails. So we'll be talking about that. Also, the Oscars forget some of the actors that passed away. Bedrock, Flintstones spin-off, voice actors cast, and much, much more on tonight's stream. And my co-host for tonight is going to be Lee. Chris won't be able to join us now for the next 3 weeks because his work rotation, his work schedule has changed. So hopefully, because it was short notice tonight, hopefully we will have a guest, special guest on with us for each of the next 2 streams that we do. But before we do start, how are you, Lee?
Yeah, nearly here. I'm not feeling so good, but I'm here anyway.
Yes, you are, and thank you very much for that. We'll try breeze through as much because Lee is a bit under the weather. Actually, if you had just told me, I probably would have done this tonight anyway, man, on my own.
That's all right. We're here.
But you're here.
It's St. Paddy's Day, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and Chris, God love Chris, man. His boss keeps changing his work schedule. So he'll be on again. Don't worry about that. But we got a couple of people in the chat right now. So we got Chris, the legend of the traveling TARDIS. He's saying, sorry, Noel. I knew you were at the Comic-Con today, so there's nothing to be sorry about. It's all good. And we got James Dawson in the chat as well. But I think I want to start off with the Oscars because it'll be the shortest topic to talk about tonight, to be quite honest. Maybe that and the Bedrock Flintstone spin-off. But we'll start off with the Oscars because a lot of people's predictions came true on who would win an Oscar, and Brendan Fraser finally won an Oscar, and Cheryl seen The Whale, and she said he was phenomenal in the movie. I haven't watched it myself. I have watched the other Oscar contenders as they do. I always watch after the Oscars because, you know, like I like to kind of see what movie they gave the Oscar to, and then watch the movies that were actually nominated and see do I agree with the panel. And most of the time I don't always agree with the panel. So until I seen all the movies, I'm not going to make a comment on it. But he won his Oscar. But Jamie Lee Curtis also won an Oscar. And Jamie Lee Curtis has been, let's just say the Oscars this year, for what I've read from people, was very boring. There wasn't any major controversy at the Oscars this year. I don't know if that was a deliberate attempt by the Oscars to kind of tone it down a bit, but it still didn't stop a few going up and maybe talking their usual crap in their own bubble. You know, they don't know about real life things. They shouldn't be really talking about it. But she won her Oscar, and oh man, I used to really love this actress. I mean, I don't see. To me, this is the thing. This is why I have a problem with it, right? And why I have a problem with most actors and actresses, you know, speaking out the way they do. A lot of them that do speak out, either their careers are on the wane or they haven't worked for a long time. And all of a sudden, then they start speaking this rhetoric, and then all of a sudden they start getting movie deals and TV show deals all of a sudden. Now, Jamie Lee Curtis is how do I put, what's the word I would put? She is right in the center of this because her son has now come out as transgender and goes by Ruby. So this is what she I can't play the video because you know what my YouTube channel is like, but I will put up the quotes. So this is what Jamie Lee Curtis. So she did a video and she came on to the world, and she gave her Oscar statue they them pronouns, and then before stroking the Oscar, she actually asked the Oscar if it was appropriate for her to touch they them Oscar. And the reason why she has said this is to come out in support of her daughter Ruby, who was born male but now has come out and says that he's born in the wrong body, and now he is to be known as Ruby. So, but not only that, she also, during the Oscars, she said that she didn't care if it hurt women, but we should have a genderless Oscars.
Oh yeah, because that worked really well for the Brit
That's what I
Awards,
was going to say to you. I mean, obviously, she probably wouldn't be aware of the Brits and what happened. The Brits having a gender neutral category, but for people out there that don't know, right, tell them what effect a gender neutral category has on women.
Well, yes. I mean, we had all the cheerleaders coming out the year before, removing, wanting to remove the male and female categories. And of course, women were saying, well, this is just going to erase women as a group who've already, for many, many decades, been underrepresented in the music industry in terms of, success, or in terms of longevity, in terms of awards, and so on and so forth. And of course, you had a lot of the LGBT mob on this, and you had Sam Smith calling for it because obviously, self-serving, because
as soon as
Sam
he
Smith
did
identifies as they them.
Yeah, but as soon as he did, you remember then Adele, and fair play to her, she was brave enough to do it. And we say it shouldn't be brave enough for what she did. It should be just the reality of the situation. But because of the society
she came out,
we're in,
she
got very emotional, and she says,
yeah, go on.
Yeah, she got very emotional, and she said, I love being a woman. You know, it like taken, and it did, it backfired, because what happened the next Brit Awards, folks? They decided to go gender neutral, and no women were even nominated for Best Artist of the Year.
No women were nominated. Not even nominated. Let's be clear.
So, all of the, but wasn't Jamie Lee Curtis? I don't know. Isn't Jamie Lee Curtis? I could be wrong. Someone can correct me in the chat. But I assume she was a feminist.
Well, yeah. Feminist. You know, you have to ask which type of feminist now, because you get first wave, second wave, third wave, fourth wave, and
then no crazy wave.
What the fourth wave is? Crazy
wave. Just call it crazy wave.
Well, look. You know, the fact that she wants to celebrate her daughter, who doesn't even want to go by she/her pronouns, so therefore not a woman. I mean, it just, none of it makes any sense. Okay, and being a mother and allowing your child to enable your child to go through a process of effectively sterilization. I don't know how far they've gone with their transition, but it usually involves taking HRT, which can cause osteoporosis, which is, you know, deterioration of the bones. Also causes high risk of heart attack. Also causes high risk of cancer. Yeah, this is stunning and brave, and of course, her quote unquote daughter, who goes by they them pronouns, married recently, I believe, to a biological woman. So this is basically celebrating heterosexuality, which is stunning and brave. So yeah, I mean, look, this is Hollywood. They live in a complete bubble. They live in fantasy la la land, and they really don't seem to understand the reality of what they're promoting, which is misogynistic, which is harmful, which is setting a dangerous platform for young people who are easily impressionable to pursue this line of self-ID, which can, as I say, lead to all of these issues and complications further down the line, of which there really hasn't been that much of a long-term study. And there's a lot of backlash about affirmation. There are a lot of new laws being passed in America due to the backlash. And a lot of people are just saying this is a right-wing thing. It's not. Many women who class themselves as feminists, you don't get very many right-wing feminists. You know, they're more traditionalists, they're more into their sort of conservative gender roles, you know, being housewives and, you know, all this kind of stuff. That's generally the perception, right? I mean, it's not always the case, but generally. So there's a lot of women on the left who are feminists, who are crying out about this, and that this is erasure of women. Obviously, it's not just women affected, it's men as well, kids especially. It's something that's gone unchallenged for a very long time that does need a proper debate. The age of the no debate is over, because this is impacting society on a much larger level from a tiny group of people, tiny minority that have an awful lot of power, who call themselves oppressed. I wouldn't mind being that oppressed, quite honestly, really. But it's dangerous rhetoric. It's promoting quite harmful ideology, whether she's wittingly or unwittingly doing so. She's obviously a mother.
Do you think she's doing it because she is, as I said, she's a mother? Her son obviously is after coming out as trans, you know, so she's been personally affected by this. Do you think, you know, we don't know the conversations she would have had with her kids, you know what I mean?
There's an awful, I mean, having experienced,
could she be brainwashed by the kids?
Yes, this happens a lot. mothers will be told through the affirmation process, and we hear this a lot because there's been a detransitioner who was 13 years old when they were transitioned by this affirming gender reassignment group. I can't remember what they were called, but there's an action going through the courts now who by someone who was 13 when they had a double mastectomy. 13. Now they're saying that they were affirmed, they weren't given the full facts, they regretted it, they shouldn't have been allowed to make that decision. So this is going through the courts right now in America. This is the second case, apparently, and this is probably just the tip of the iceberg. So there is an awful lot of information that is pushed by these clinics that say you have a choice. Either you have a self-deleted daughter, or you have an alive son. So there's a lot of emotional blackmail. There is a lot of what we call neurolinguistic programming techniques that these activists use to brainwash people by using certain keywords that emotionally terrorize you into accepting it as truth through fear that you will lose that child. This is quite a common practice, and more and more is coming out about all this, and more will come out as these kinds of cases get heard. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Now look, obviously a mother wants to do what makes her child happy, and sometimes that just goes a bit too far, particularly if you're in a very sort of spoilt, very Hollywood bubble kind of environment. And it's also super duper trendy as well, which I think also plays a part into this. And some mothers have a sort of Munchausen syndrome where they really want this to happen for their children, and they funnel them. So we don't know which case is which. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but I mean, it's incredibly irresponsible to use your platform.
Yeah, I think it is, but I think
this is a civil rights issue.
You know, she even said, and I don't want to dwell on this too much because I've got the next topic up on screen, but you know, when she said trans rights are human rights, nobody is denying trans people human rights. They still have
human
the
rights.
Human rights do they not the rest of us.
They have,
exactly. That's what I would like
to know. Their rights stop where other people's rights begin. You can't just overlay trans rights over women's rights and LGBT rights and the rights of children.
And remember, if you want rights that infringe on other people's rights, that's wrong too. You know, it should be equal.
It's not a civil right to trans gay kids. It's not a civil right to trans autistic kids. It's not a civil right to colonize women's spaces. It's not a civil right to dominate the political discussion and supersede all other people's rights that are affected. You can't claim that.
Right, let's see who we've got in the chat before we move on to James Gunn, because there's a lot to get through. But thanks for that, Lee, because I know you'd know more about all of this than I do, because you know you actually do the research, and you know, as I said, every day, daily, you're being bashed for being a gay man. Like, you know, you're minding your own business, and then there's people telling you what you should and shouldn't do. It's gone back to the, like, without, as I said, I don't want to dwell on it, but it's gone back to the dark old days, hasn't it, Lee? I mean, it is.
Well, there was a poll on Twitter the other day, and it didn't go the way they thought it was going to go. There was a poll saying LGB with the T or LGB without the T. And then I think 14,000.
Well, it's always the void.
Yeah. But wait. But you know, there's a reason for it. But that vote was at least, I think, about 50% more in favor of LGB leaving the T, because those two groups are at complete odds. I mean, you got one saying that gender is more important than sex,
Yeah.
and the LGBT are saying sex is more important than gender, and they're totally two different things. They cannot coexist comfortably because there's too many things at obtuse angles here.
Yeah.
You can't be forced into a marriage where it's an abusive relationship. So there is a divorce happening here.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Lee, again. As I
That's
said,
right.
he's the one does the research, and to see the stuff that he has to deal with a daily basis, people, and it's absolutely disgusting. You should see it. You should actually, you should all go and follow Lee's account. We will get one of the guys in the chat there to throw it in, the link to his Twitter, and just see the crap he has to deal with on a daily basis. But we got Chris Persia in the chat, head mod. We got the legend of the traveling TARDIS who's apologizing because they had a shower issue and the Comic-Con was in 2 weeks, but it's all good. I held the fort anyway, mate. Accidents happen, jobs and life get in the way. Don't worry about it. As I said, just if you can't turn up, it's grand, man. I'll just just roll.
Do you want to give PD a link? He's in the
Hang
chat.
On. Anyway, we got James Dawson in the chat as well. I'll get to PD now in a minute. Yeah, we got Garbage. Yeah, I'm in charge tonight. Remember that. PD Rich Leland, he's laughing. It's Paddy's Day. I'm in charge of my own stream tonight.
Oh God, yeah.
Disaster area. Yeah. You owe me 800 years. We got Brisket
thousands of years, but you were pirates.
We got
taking people. You even stole Paddy himself.
We got Disaster Area in the chat. I'm not listening to him. And we got Leland in the chat as well. Be quiet, oppressor. Anyway, PD wants to assume the grumpy, but I don't want anybody grumpy on. But if you want to come on and give your opinion about these topics, then you're more than welcome to come on. And I'm serious about that. I want to actually be professional. We're on Twitter as well, by the way. We're streaming live on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And this is the last time we're doing this for this month. Remember, as I said, every month we'll do each stream that we do on the channel on Twitter each month. We can't do it every stream, because if we do, then what's the point of me being on YouTube? Do you get me? But it's a good way of getting the channel out there. So if you could share the links, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Because as I said, we just talk pop culture here. Obviously we talk about actors and actresses coming out with their activism and stuff. And we do have to recognize that, because it's bleeding into our pop culture. So, sometimes we will talk about it, but it's not the focus. As you will see tonight, we don't always focus on all of that. We focus on other topics as well within Hollywood. And this is another one right here. So I will send PD that email just real quick before we start there. But yeah, seriously, check out Lee's Twitter account. I am not messing. Right. If Twitter was out in the 1970s and 80s, even the 50s, 60s, this is the type of rubbish you would have got from people. The bigoted behavior. I mean, I don't know how he does it. I wouldn't stay personally on a platform where I wouldn't feel safe. I mean, there's people even putting up images of, I can't actually say the word, but these things go bang, right? Saying they're going to mail them through people's letterboxes. This is what Lee is dealing with. It's no joke. It's no joke. We're gone backwards. Society has gone backwards. I said this. We were in a good place maybe 15, 16 years ago. Society wasn't that bad. Yes, we had a lot of problems, but we weren't that bad. People were still nice to each other. There was none of this hatred. There's hatred everywhere. It doesn't matter what it is, though, right? There's hatred everywhere. It's just nobody cannot just sit down. See, this is the problem, right? I don't want to get bogged down on this, but the problem that I have is there's a simple solution to all of this. People just need to sit around the table and talk to each other. That's how we've sorted out our problems before, and that's how we should sort out our problems now. But now it's one side doing this, and the other side retaliates, and it's this, that, and the other, and it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then all in the meantime, society is getting worse, and we're getting nowhere closer to solving all of these issues. Right? Cop on. Anyway, let's get on to James Gunn. So James Gunn has made the announcement that he's directing Superman Legacy, and it will be released on the 11th of July 2025. Now, his brother Matt told him when he saw the release date, he started to cry, apparently, because when James asked him why, because, you know, James doesn't think of anybody but himself, he said, dude, it's Dad's birthday. So he didn't even realize, as he said there, I hadn't realized that the release date of Superman Legacy, a movie that none of us actually want, is going to be released on his dad's birthday. And apparently he didn't know because he's too far up his own arse to see anything else. But you all know how I feel about James Gunn and this DCU universe that he's trying to build. Listen, I'm no Snyder versus Van. I think they're just a bunch of bullies now at this stage. But the DCU EU, I've been saying this, and I said this last year, and I think I said it the year before as well. And a lot of people actually laughed at me. I said it was done. It's dead. It doesn't matter. Even if you were to resurrect the Snyderverse now, right? Say you were to get rid of James Gunn and bring back Zack Snyder, it's dead. And I'll tell you why it's dead. The public have lost interest. Now, you might think that fans will be enough to get butts in seats to watch these movies, but unfortunately, with the budgets that you spend on them, you aren't going to make very much money on them. You do need that general audience. And the general audience are fed up. We've had how many years of this now? 13 years. Like, rebooting or resetting the universe up is not going to make a difference. It's going to fail. But anyway, Lee, Superman Legacy, July 11th, 2025. It's 2 years away. I mean, okay, Superman's to be cast, so we don't know yet, right? We could get someone that we could all get behind, but right now, how are you feeling about this movie? How are you feeling about this whole unit? I know he's only announced a few things. But how are you feeling in general to the James Gunn vision of the DCEU? And he's talked about Wonder Woman as well and the animation. And I want to bring that in because we kill two subjects with the one stone, two birds with the one stone. So he also apparently had a word with the animation team because there wasn't enough Wonder Woman on animation. Can he pull this off, what he's trying to create? Or do you agree with me? This was dead a long time ago. It's burnt out. It's stale. It's just done.
Well,
or do you think there's hope?
To answer your first question, what do I feel? I think maybe it wouldn't be too far-fetched to say I speak for probably quite a large number of people if I say underwhelmed. I think there's a lot of people who are expecting or looking for something a bit more than what's been put on offer. I just don't think it's actually setting the world on fire. You know, it's not really engaging many people. There will obviously be the DC stands who will just swallow anything anyway. But Superman, well, they haven't got Superman right since the late 70s. So, you know, I mean, I think...
Yeah, because you're not a fan, you know, you're not a fan of Man of Steel. I am a fan of Man of Steel. Look, it's not a perfect movie. I think Christopher Reeve's Superman, the movie, is the definitive Superman movie. I'm not going to lie. It is. It's without shadow of a doubt. But I did have a soft spot for Henry Cavill's Superman.
No, it was perfect casting. Wasted. Perfect casting wasted on mediocre or
Yeah.
tonally incorrect Superman movies.
Well, the Snyderverse was tonally incorrect.
Apart from the one Man of Steel movie, you know, he's not been allowed really to stand on his own and be Superman on his own. Now, a lot of people make this statement that as a character, Superman is boring because he's just a god-like being that is unrelatable. Well, that's why you have Clark Kent. He's relatable. And as for being a godlike being and how boring that is, for thousands of years we've had godlike beings in all our stories for, you know, stretching back millennia, and they're fascinating. Make it fascinating.
Yeah, I think
do something.
I think the Snyderverse
bring in Brainiac. Bring in Brainiac.
Yeah, I think the Snyderverse. That's one thing I will say about the Snyderverse. I think the Snyderverse did very well. Snyder did himself anyway, and Henry. I think that to tap into that with Superman, the complex, you know, everybody that scene with Zod, right, where he breaks his neck, right. That scene has caused an awful lot of controversy with Superman fans, right? For now, some will argue that that's not what he stands for, and he wouldn't have done that. And then there's others. Well, look at the situation he was in. That's me, right? I could see it from that. Now I know that's not going to sit well with Christopher Reeve's Superman fans, right? I am a Christopher Reeve's Superman fan, right? Part 3, we can forget about. On Quest of Peace, we can definitely forget about. I wish those two movies never existed, but they do. Superman 2 gets a bad
Superman 3.
Yeah, and Superman 2 gets a bad rep, right? Because everybody says watch the other cut, the Donner cut, right? I actually like the other. I like the version of Superman 2 that we got. Yeah, it wasn't the same tone as the people expected it to be, but I still liked it. It was still a good Superman movie. So I can understand why there is that conflict when Henry Superman is in that position and Zod is going to kill those humans, if he, you know what I mean. So he says, you have to kill me to save them. And he made the choice because he loved Earth. He grew up on a farm on the US. I could understand it, but I can understand why it doesn't sit well with other fans. But I'm just sick. This is what I'm saying. I think it doesn't matter. Snyder fans are not going to get what they want, right? James Gunn, people just don't like him, right? He's not a likable person, right? The first, after Henry was sacked and fans were protesting and fans were arguing on Twitter, like saying it was a horrible decision. What did he go and do? He came out and called them toxic and racists and all this other rubbish that they all come out with. That wasn't a good start, right? Nope. Fans want Henry as Superman. Yeah, and they will remember. That's what I mean. And you know, this is why he has that uphill struggle, right? And then, as you said yourself, the projects that he's announced, right? I'm sorry, James, but, you know, half of them, I'm a mainstream. I'm that general audience, right? I love Superman. I grew up with Christopher Reeve's Superman. I grew up with Michael Keaton's Batman. But I wouldn't say I'm a die-hard comic book fan, right? But I am a fan of those characters, right? So when you announce some of your slate, I'm there and I'm saying, well, who's this guy and who are they? And, you know, there was nothing there. Even the Superman announcement, when he announced there was going to be a new Superman movie, I wasn't excited because it's not going to be Henry. So he has that uphill struggle. But, I mean, it's dead. I think it. I do. I'll be laughed at until the dawn of time for saying that. But it's dead. It's dead. There's no way of resurrecting this. Even Marvel have kind of conceded now at this stage, which we'll get into with Ant-Man and the Wasp a little bit later on. But it's not looking good for either company right now. And we got PD Rich Rating in the studio patiently, so I'll bring him in.
Hello, I'm in a very grumpy mood tonight. I caught it from Chris. Oh.
Yeah, well, if you get too grumpy, we'll have to try cheer you up somehow. But Lee, I don't know if you gave because I went off on another rant again. Sorry, mate. But on this whole DCEU, what are your thoughts, man? Because I've got something else to show you now with Ben Affleck and him, which is very interesting.
Well, as I say, it's underwhelming. He's playing to his strengths by doing Suicide Squad rip-offs or knockoffs, basically, which is his comfort zone. Maybe he needs that to grow into it. I don't know. It might help if he'd sort of taken the leaf out of the Marvel book by starting off with a character like Iron Man, and then building into extending that universe. But again, it's kind of hamstrung by the sort of overhang from the Snyderverse with this crossover period, and it's confusing and muddled, and it doesn't seem to mean anything or matter anymore. So it's a bit of a mess. I mean, Warner Brothers has made so many bloody stupid decisions over a number of years. Really, if you can't get Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman right, and iconic, in the sense that these are the definitive Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, you're kind of handicapping yourself in a way, because you've got all this hangover from Joker, the Flash movie. You've got that Batman. You've got the other Batman, the emo Batman, and it's all bleeding into, and it needs a big axe to come down and go chop, right, done. We're not doing that anymore, and then start moving things forward and building up your new DC universe. Is it too little, too late? Quite possibly. Has he got up people's noses? Yes, but how much so? Will it affect? Will the product be good, and will people want to watch it and enjoy it? Will it be well written? Will it be well acted? Will it be well directed and produced, etc., etc.? We don't know. But the more CGI, if you're just going to keep throwing CGI stuff at things, people are already bored with that now. So I think it's an uphill struggle. I think that the people have moved on a little bit from all this. People are fed up. We just don't know where Hollywood's going to be in the next couple of years, let alone 2025.
Well, here's something that's very interesting. But this is something Ben Affleck has actually had to say. And I'm gonna remove this off the screen because apparently me audio goes like a Dalek or something when I share it. So
no, I've worked it out. It's when you have that up and I'm on mute. That's when it starts to crackle.
All right. So Ben Affleck says he won't be directing a DC film. I have nothing against James Gunn. Nice guy. Sure, he's going to do a great job. I just wouldn't want to go in and direct in a way they're doing that. So James Gunn had put up a tweet to say that he'd had a meeting with Ben Affleck to ask him if he'd be interested in directing some DC projects, and that was Ben Affleck's response. And I think Ben Affleck is talking for a lot of fans. There just doesn't seem to be any excitement for anything that James Gunn is doing right now, PD. I mean, what's your thoughts on the whole thing?
Well, I can sum it up quite quickly by saying, wow, didn't I want to explode on the runway? It's just such a shame. It could have been really good. He put his heart and soul into it, but it just annoyed everyone. Just made some silly decision. I mean, it's like, I think the problem with DC at the moment is you've got to try and not please everyone, but make everyone satisfied, and it's not satisfying anyone.
Do you think that's what? No, but that's the thing. He says he's got other projects to announce.
Yeah.
Do you think this is? We've only seen the early slate, so maybe we are jumping the gun a little bit, right? Maybe he is, but this could be his downfall. Maybe he is trying to appeal to everybody, and if you overextend yourself like that, you're going to set yourself up for failure.
Exactly.
Because the thing about it is what James Gunn should be really concentrating on is quality over quantity, right? He should be basically, putting. I'm not gonna sit here and say he's not gonna put his heart and soul into everything that he does. He will, right? But he's got to understand, whether he likes it or not. It's all great him wanting to introduce new DC characters. And I have said this before, maybe it would be a good idea, but to totally erase other characters and not, you know what I mean, continue with them, it just seems a bit. And his whole spiel about, well, I'm gonna have the same actors on screen doing live action, and they're also going to be the voice actors for the animation. Now, I can understand that to a certain
going to be tired
aspect because of continuity with the voices and all of that. But you are putting a lot of genuine voice actors out of work as well.
You put a lot of pressure on your stars.
And that's a lot of pressure. Well,
they're going to be tired by the end of the year. Be so tired. I mean, I see that you're going to be having like celebrities having nervous breakdowns on DC if they keep doing that, because they're just going to be tired. So, like, 1 minute they're in the TV, they're in the voice recording studio, and the next minute they're out on set, they're back in the voice recording studio. They're going to, in and out like a yo-yo. It's going to drive them crazy.
DC, yeah, they're just. I think they're in serious trouble. I really do. Marvel is already in a lot of trouble.
The only way they're going to do is they trickle them out slowly, but then the fans will get annoyed so there's not enough content. It's like how you say you're trying to please everyone, but pleasing nobody, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happened, sadly. I think it went in too fast, too strong, too hard, and just annoyed everybody in the process.
That's what she said.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you broke my grumpiness for a second.
Right. Well, here we've only got a couple of more DC bits to get through, and then we can move on to the Marvel stuff. Yeah, because I'm kind of like, I cover it because I am actually interested. See, this is the thing, Blue Beetle is something that I'm actually looking forward to because, your guy that plays Miguel in Cobra Kai is the only reason why I'm watching it, because he's the lead. And I think he's a great actor, and I think he'd be great in the role. But it's again, I'll wait and see. Personally, I'll wait and see what else is announced. But right now, he hasn't lit a fire.
I'm interested in Booster Gold because I love Booster Gold as a kid. I had the first print, the first edition of the first Booster Gold release, and I bought that series as a kid, for a long time, and I love the character, and I think he's a jerk. He's the antithesis of Superman. I'd love to see those two on screen together. They famously fought a couple of times as well, and he better be a blonde white guy who's a jerk, because that's who he is, and I hope they don't mess with that, because I think it's good for comic value. There's a bit of a dark overtone to it as well as just being silly, and it's a great little quirky situation where basically he's a time traveling thief who wants to go back in time to be a superhero for money and for fame and for sponsorships and all that kind of stuff. I think it's ripe. I mean, I know that the boys are pretty much doing that anyway, but Booster Gold really was the kind of was the original kind of character that did that. I think he was.
Yeah.
I think he would be a fun character I'd like to see on screen. Not a lot of people necessarily know Booster Gold unless you've read the comic books. But they've never brought him on the big screen before, and they brought him on like the small screen, but again, not like he's supposed to be, as usual. So I mean, I'd like to see that. I am interested to see that because that does ring my bell from times gone by, but we'll see.
Yeah.
And there is crossover with Booster Gold and the Blue Beetle, so that would make sense. Seeing those two together properly, and then maybe Booster Gold with Superman, but maybe it's a bit too niche. I don't know. Let's see.
So Robert Pattinson, more DC, more Robert Pattinson may not appear as Batman in the Penguin series, but may appear as Bruce Wayne or the Drifter. The TV rights for Batman are caught up in a legal limbo involving Fox, Disney, and a trio of mergers. And why am I bringing that up? Well, all of these mergers, you see, this is what happens. All of our pop culture, you see. You know, all of these greedy studios buy up and then they get tied up. Listen, I got to be honest. The only reason why I'm interested in the Penguin series is because it stars Colin Farrell. Right? He's an Irish actor. And as you know, I do support the Irish actors and actresses. I do. Whatever they're in, I give it a go, even if it's absolute tripe. I will give it a go because they're Irish. I like to see the Irish do well. And I'm actually kind of secretly delighted for Colin Farrell because, you know, he hasn't made the best choices in Hollywood when it's come to movies. Alexander, we'll say no more. But, you know, I think in recent years, he has done a lot of decent stuff. I actually watched The Gentleman recently, Guy Ritchie movie. And Colin Farrell is not in it that long, but he's in it enough, and he's just brilliant. But the whole movie is just cracking. If you haven't seen it, go and check it. Check it out. It's brilliant. The Gentleman. Go and check it out. It's brilliant. Yeah, what was I talking? I lost me whole train of thought. Oh yeah, the whole thing about studios. Yeah, so I'm delighted for Colin Farrell, but this is the only reason why I'm watching this Penguin spin-off. But I have to be honest, I'm not liking the costumes or the lack of, let's just say. The Penguin wears these elaborate costumes, and we're not actually seeing that. I don't know about yous, but I'm kind of gone past the steampunk emo Batman, fucking even the Christian Bale style Batmans now. Oh, do you know what? Do you know what my ideal Batman movie would be, man? Like a 1950s style Batman. Seriously, with the bang and the bang coming up on the screen, all of that. Just give us a fucking Batman that we can go into the cinema and have a laugh. Right?
Yeah.
Well, you know, they tried to kind of push this emo Batman as the sort of detective Batman, but he really didn't seem to do much in the way.
No, and I was hoping he would, because in those early scenes, Robert Pattinson is not a bad Batman. I have to admit he's not. It's just the movie is mediocre, and everybody that's raving about. I'm sorry. Listen, it's a half an hour too long. It's too dark, right? I couldn't see half of the stuff that was happening in it, but it wasn't heavy on plot. It was okay.
But like, the problem with modern day Batman is grounding it in reality. It's a comic book. Make it in a comic book world. That's how Tim Burton made it work. Even Batman Forever, even for all its campness, there was still that element of
there was moments in that movie.
A totally different world.
Yeah,
you know, and I want to see that again. I want to see Batman in the comic book. I want to see I want to see a detective Batman.
Do you know what? Bring back
in an alternative city, like Gotham should be like New York, but it's more gothic-y. It's more, you know, dark.
Bring back Tim Burton, man. Biggest mistake was getting rid of him.
But
in the first place.
I also think, like, going back to what you said about the way the Penguin looks in this, it doesn't look like a bloody penguin.
No.
He's supposed to wear a black suit with the white, you know, the black and white look, because that's the Penguin. He's supposed to be a chubby guy, is a Machiavellian caricature, is a you know, and he's got all these crazy devices like his umbrella and all this kind of stuff. You know, bring that fun back. I'm so tired of all the gritty hyper realism and all this nonsense. Just make it what it's supposed to be, a good romp in a comic book on screen. That's what we want.
Yeah. Right, so we'll go through the pieces of news that are literally going to take seconds to get through. So I'm going to throw up things on the screen there, and then I just want you to give a quick opinion. You don't even have to get into a big thing on this. This is just
I'll try.
Little random. Not well, you won't. Just trust me. They're too random. So apparently there will be a Bad Boys 4 and Vanessa Hutchings apparently will return. So thoughts on a Bad Boys 4 movie, yay or nay?
Oh God, Slappy Boys.
I mean, Bad Boys for Life was crap.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is there even a point?
I mean, I'm so tired of
sequels.
These grave robbers. It's grave robbing. It's taking dead franchises, trying to bring them back and breathe life into them, and they're just mere shadows. They're specters of themselves.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, it's just not good. It's like when Michael Jackson tried to do Thriller again with ghosts. Remember that? And it just
but no. In fairness, though, that became a bit of a cult classic. To me, I love Ghosts. I know, I agree with you. He did try to recreate the whole Thriller thing, but there were elements in the Ghost video. If you watch the whole video, they're very clever. He was telling a specific story in that video. It's very well done. The whole point of the video was to slag off these people that were coming, these leeches. Trust me, there was a lot more going on with that video than people. And if you listen to the lyrics as well, it sits perfectly, man. I love that video. I'll defend that song, but I do agree with you. It did feel like he was trying to recreate the whole Thriller, but this was
and it looks great. It looks very slick, but it doesn't have the charm of the original. So that's what I'm saying. It's you can't keep, you know, plundering the past and then going, oh look, it's the thing you like, and it's not the thing you like.
Yeah,
you know, it really isn't. It's like seeing
someone wearing the skin of the thing you like and dancing around trying to pretend it. It's just bits falling off, and it's just
it's LARPing at this point. Yeah. It's not a good look. Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I tried to show you the poster. It was just another thing that I want to throw up, just random. It was the poster of oh, there we go. I'll probably be able to throw it up now. But as you know, do you remember a few months back, Tom Cruise was on the wing of an airplane, and he was giving us all a message about going to see Maverick and how we were great and all for, like, you know, going to see his movie, and that he made movies so people could basically get their bums in seats. Like, well, he's dropped the poster, and yes, he has saved Hollywood. But the first poster for Dead Reckoning Part 1, and look, it's exactly the stunt that we seen him, where he cycles off the cliff and the bike. Look at that. He's just a legend. I don't care what anybody says about all the other crap. When it comes to acting, this man is the GOAT. And he just knows how to make entertaining movies. But there's the poster for the first poster. I cannot wait to see this movie. Apparently, one of the executives in the studio said that the movie was too long and they would have to edit the movie. Are you crazy?
You're gonna put bums on seats.
Are you crazy? You do not edit this movie in any way And if you do, well, then make sure we get the extended versions of these movies.
Well, that's why they're doing it. No, that's why they're doing it.
I know, but it's the only way we can do it, to watch the way it should be watched. Not the way.
That's how they make their extra money, by getting you to pay for it twice. Everyone knows this trick now.
I just wait for director's cut.
I mean, I've said before in regards to the Bad Boys, that bringing back a dead friend. Mission Impossible is not the same thing, even though it is a sequel. Yet again, it's still an ongoing franchise. It's not something that's been rested or anything. It's been ongoing for a number of years. So it's like James Bond at this point. It's a different kind of animal in terms of sequels. But people still
I like that franchise, though. I think it's gotten better since Mission Impossible 4. Yeah, it's still fresh. They do something new with it. And he's always pushing the boundaries. Each movie is more insane than the next, but very cleverly written. It's not just about the action and the running and the stunts. There's actually a good story behind them. That's why they work. But that's the good side of Hollywood. Now, let me show you why Hollywood is in the state that it's in. So I've got this to share with you. So do you remember that TV show that Henry Cavill was part of, The Witcher? Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Yeah, well, wait till you see this. This is a whopper comment. So the Witcher showrunner, Lauren, found Henry Cavill really annoying due to his over enthusiasm.
I'm sure the feeling was mutual.
To play Gareth.
The was mutual. Yeah. Now, look, really annoying. I mean, you mean?
So this is what I said on the preview show, Lee, and then this is what I said on the preview show. So you're annoyed at a man because he's done his research. He's obviously played the games, probably read the books, has more understanding of the role than you do, and because of that, you were annoyed at him because basically he knew more than you did. That's what that boils down to. Yeah? Would you agree?
Well, you said everything we were going to say anyway, so...
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
But it just shows how much
did I spoil that one for you, Lee?
Like everything else.
Would you like to add anything else to it?
No.
Okay. Just got to show you I'm really getting good at this.
No, I think... I think it's kind of rich when Henry Cavill is such a gentleman and is so entertaining. He's great in interviews. He's great in anything he appears in and elevates the material he's given. When you got someone who's run a show that I couldn't even watch beyond the first episode, I couldn't even get through the first episode of The Witcher, that this person finds him annoying when the entire show is annoying. The entire politics and the mentality of these narcissists is so annoying that they find him annoying. Well, that's probably because you're not human, or you're like severely lacking in humanity, because the man is someone who cares about his profession, someone who clearly understands the role. It's a role that he wanted, specifically because he's invested in the game. He knows about the game. He played the game. He knows the character inside and out. So obviously, if it's not going the way that he knows the character to be, he's going to question that. And every actor with an ounce of integrity will say, this isn't right. If they know the character, they will defend their ground and say, well, this character wouldn't do that, or this needs to happen, that shouldn't be happening. That means he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And you should, if you've got a lead actor like that and you're going to waste him in a show that fundamentally totally misunderstands the character, that's going to be annoying to you, because you are deliberately trying to undermine him and the character and the story to put across your message. And he's just clearly not on board with that. And I'm glad he's out of that, quite honestly.
Right. Well, from one failure to another, Willow has been cancelled by Disney Plus after one series.
Damn, I'm not grumpy anymore.
Now, I remember when this was announced, I was excited for literally 2 seconds, and then I saw the trailer. And I knew it was going to be bad. Apparently, now, of course, it's being cancelled and everybody has speculated. But of course, the people who've made it have put out a statement, folks. They've actually put out a statement. Now, I'm not going to put the statement up on screen because I don't want to crackle while I read this statement. But I'll read you what they had to say about the cancellation of the show, okay? Because they address some of the apparent misinformation from people out there on the reasons why it was cancelled. So, this is the statement. Dear Willow supporters and vocal opposition, you guys get in here too. Writing to you today, one preposterously, criminally, and immeasurably lucky fool. The outpouring of kind words and support passion for our shabby little show has been nothing short of mind-blowing and profoundly moving, not just for me, but for everyone who worked on it, blah, 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 blah. We are extremely grateful, the usual rhetoric, blah, blah, blah. We didn't, even those of you who didn't enjoy it yet get stuck with it for 8 hours to critique each episode and let us know exactly which choices you weren't a fan of. That too is its own incredibly specific form of flattery, and we appreciate it. Well, fair enough. They're actually acknowledging that people didn't like it, and that's fair.
Yeah.
As a lifelong devotee of Deadline Hollywood, I would also appreciate the punchy headline drive clicks. So I understand how Willow cancelled after one season on Disney Plus is fun and juicy. However, I'm nearly certain I've had more conversations about this in the last couple of weeks than of the fan, whoever their name is, because it's Nelly Andrew Vera, because I can't pronounce half of these names because Americans for some weird reason have all weird names. Isn't it mad, man? I feel fairly confident that Ask Neither or Nor the folks, will you just get to the point of it, at Lucasfilm would have actually characterized it in quite. I saw Lucasfilm. Well, that's why it failed. Okay, I don't need to read any more of the statement. I'm only messing. I'll be fair. The truth is less splashy, but here it is. A decision was made last week to release our main cast for other serious opportunities that may arise for them in the coming year. So hang on, right. I'm no expert in the film industry, but if you're doing a TV show on a movie, right, and you want this show, you obviously would have got the cast for more than a year. Now, tell me I'm wrong, but you would have the cast for more than a year, definitely. So this explanation, we'll read it, we'll be fair, right? So with all the TV movies and productions around the world, it feels unfair to limit the actors' availability without a clear sense of when you're going to need them again. It's further trivialized by the simple reality that the scripts we've been working on require just as many actors from our first season, which with whom no such contractual hold exists. Nothing prevented Annabelle Davis, for example, for taking another show, but you better believe Mims appeared in every single Volume 2 chapter. If you're asking what this means, so hold on, because I'm reading this and you've already wrote Chapter 2 in anticipation that it was actually going to be put out, but now you're saying that you've released all the main actors because you don't want them getting caught up in this, even though it's paid work and none of them would mind being caught up in it in the first place. Am I being too conspiracy theorist here, or am I making a lot of sense here? Because this feels like that
It's Hollywood spin. It's Hollywood spin. Look, The reason why the show failed, and we all know it, is because Warwick, I'm phoning it in for the Paycheck Davis, wasn't any good. The supporting cast all spoke like they're from California. None of it made any sense. Look, I'm only going by what I've seen other people saying about it and seen clips of, and it looks dreadful. It sounds dreadful. You've got a lead actress who is insufferable, that is unrelatable, unless you like from Beverly Hills. It just seems a complete nonsense. It's nothing like the original film, from what I can tell. And when you've got a bunch of characters that you can't even stand to be sitting down listening to for more than 5 minutes as it grates your ears like cheese through a grater, it's evident, it's tone deaf, right? There is a world Hollywood outside of Hollywood, and maybe putting a bunch of Californians in a medieval romp fantasy doesn't work. Just saying. Just saying. Yeah, good luck with their future careers, anyway.
Anyway, Oscars. Back to the Oscars briefly, because as you know, during the Oscars they always do a section where they remember those who passed. But this year's Oscars was quite controversial.
Oh, I bet they had the Oscars passing this year.
Because they forgot to mention every single one of these people that passed away. But do you notice something? Nobody's actually mentioned this. Do you notice something? I haven't actually seen the memory thing that they did at the Oscars, but I'm pretty sure. You know.
Well, they got Topol, and that's good. We love Topol. I saw Topol at Wimbledon Theatre when I was a kid on Fiddler in the Roof. Sad to see him pass. That was sad.
So they forgot all of these actors, actresses.
I missed Zarkov, Dr. Zarkov.
Right.
Oh,
even
so they missed him.
Yeah, they missed them. They didn't show these at the Oscars. Fiddler on the Roof. As you know, this guy here, I forget his name, but he's a deadly actor. He's a deadly actor as well. That's what's his face. He died recently as well. I'm crap with names, right? But we've seen all of these in movies, right? Every single one of them. And not one of them was acknowledged at the Oscars, because the Oscars are a bunch of pandering, bleeding fucking idiots. Sorry, I said that. I broke me own rule.
You're telling me
I don't care. At the end of the day, all of these, every single actor and actress, if you have the biggest main event that celebrates the industry, you do not forget one single person. Simple as that. You do it throughout the whole show. Instead of taking all of those commercial breaks, right? You should do a part 1, part 2, all the way through the Oscars. Everybody should be remembered, right? They all.
I remember watching the Oscars as a kid, and whenever it got to the in memoriam section, it went on for absolutely ages. And they didn't just do actors, it was people who worked in hair, makeup, cinematography, you name it, set design, all of it. And it went on for 8, and they didn't miss anybody. And nowadays, it's just like they just don't care, and it's so symptomatic of the current state of Hollywood and our culture, with the raging narcissism. And it's all superficial, it's all pandering, it's all virtue signaling, but really, ultimately, they don't give a shit. And this is really, really symptomatic of that. And it's a shame. It's shameful. And it seems to me that the Oscars is being run by a temp with a bad attitude. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
So you're telling me the in memoranda should have been the Oscars dignity this year?
Too many dead white people, probably.
Yeah, the dignity of the
Oscars. That's why I told you. Yeah, listen, I'm not kidding. That's why I told you to look at the photo. What was wrong with the photo? Dude, that's exactly why. right? There's this whole pandering bollocks. Nobody will say, I'll say it, right? There are too many. It's exactly what it is. It's exactly what it is, because that rhetoric has been going around for the last couple of years. We're at fault for everything. We're at fault for slavery. We're at fault for racism. We're at fault for this, that, and the other, right? If it snows in the desert, somehow it's their fault.
Oh yeah, I caused that. I did.
You know, we get blamed for everything now.
That was my fault.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They talk about discrimination. They talk about bigotry. It's right there every day in front of us all. The skin color doesn't have. There's no boundaries to bigotry, right? Skin color is irrelevant. I'm sick of all of these idiots out there that say, "Oh no, you can't be racist or white person. You can't do this or that." You haven't got a clue what you're talking about. You absolutely do not have a clue what you're talking about. The very thing that she's saying is trying to fight is exactly what you all are. We're fighting against the bigots. You guys, not you in the chat, by the way. I'm talking about all those radical left people. You know who I'm talking about. Right? You're the ones. Anyway, let's get into some DC
Well,
news.
you know, you're white. I'm white. Your people were oppressed for 800 years. My people got murdered en masse to the tune of over 6 million. I mean, what is this all about? It's a complete canard. Absolute nonsense. It must stop.
I agree. All this hatred and bigotry that's going on is disgusting. Anyway, DC news. Not DC news. Marvel news. I don't really want to dwell too long on Marvel news because it's a bit... And I know I skipped one DC. We forgot to talk about the DC Pride stuff. I'm pretty sure. Lee, have you actually seen the DC Pride? I've been putting the posts in the chat. Did you see that thing that they're doing? DC Pride 2023.
Oh, it's so naff and cringe. I'm so over it. Pride is a joke, especially when we're going through a divorce at the moment. So.
Should be called shame, really.
Anyway, let's get into this. So
there was a really funny American stand-up comic did a brilliant routine about all this kind of, and he said in the future he did a Pride projected in the future. We don't call it Pride anymore. It's called what was it again? Arrogance. And I thought that was perfect.
Oh man. Anyway. Let's get on to this because, again, we're talking about the state of DC, and now we can talk about the state of Marvel, which I think Marvel is in a worse position anyway, and has been for since, actually, I would argue even before Endgame, but you can't really say anything bad about Endgame because you get your head completely ripped off by the...
It was shit. I'm sorry, but it was shit.
Endgame is not as great as everybody thinks it is. The movie before Endgame, which I can't even... Civil War, was it? No,
Endgame was boring, convoluted, bloated, and messy.
It was like Star Trek Nemesis, wasn't it?
Yeah. I didn't think it was...
And then you killed off all the main
heroes. You kill off Iron Man, you kill off the whole franchise. But anyway, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is tracking with a higher worldwide box office than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. But we've got to look at this in terms of budget, right? Puss in Boots wouldn't have had the big-ass budget that Ant-Man Quantumania had. And even that, with that said, we've seen some of the CGI that was in Ant-Man and the Wasp and Quantumania, and it was absolutely awful. But this is another failure for Marvel. No matter which way they spin this movie is going to come in with a loss, they reckon. Guys, I'll ask you the same. We talked about DC. Marvel, I think, is in a worse state. What would you say, Lee?
Well, yeah, I mean, this is, it's been called Stage 4, wasn't it? Phase 4 became Stage 4. And it really is on a very massive, steep decline. DC at least had some glimmer, potentially, of something good happening, even though we have to wait and see. But ultimately, I think that the superhero genre as a whole it's oversaturated with a lot of content but no quality. There's a massive quality problem with all of this, and it's not just Marvel; it's the whole across the board with anything CGI nowadays. As for Puss in Boots, that film came out of nowhere, right? It was a sequel no one expected or even asked for, but it was so good. I love Puss in Boots too, and I've watched it a couple of times now, and it's a pure joy from start.
Yeah, see, I didn't like the first one.
Really?
See, I didn't like the first one, and that's the thing. That's why I've never watched the second one. But then I heard you talk about it backstage. Jack has even spoke about it as well, and a few other people have spoken about it and said it's actually a good movie. And I'm like,
brilliant.
Should I actually just watch the bleeding two of them again and just give the first one a go again, and then just go into the second one, or should I just watch the second one? But then I'm saying, if I don't watch the first one, I'll probably miss what's happening in the second one. So I don't know, man. I'll probably give it another go.
Watch it.
There you go. He's forcing me. See that, folks?
There's two villains in Puss in Boots too, and
Right.
the more ethereal rather than the human one, we'll say, because I won't spoil it. But the ethereal one is really menacing and it's creepy. I can imagine it's terrifying kids. It's really scary. And it's beautifully done. It's a slightly different, it's quite a different animation style. It's much, I think it's the same people who did the Into the Spider-Verse. So it's got that kind of semi-anime feel about it on top of the 3D kind of animation style. So you've got that kind of mix, and it kind of works. It's different to the original film. I'd say this is much more ambitious than the first film. And you don't have Humpty Dumpty. You've got other characters that come in that are brilliant. I was worried with the Goldilocks and the Three Bears in this, but that actually worked very well, and it's got a great message. It's a very contemplative message as well. This film tackles with death and tackles that existential angst. And it's a film, not just, it's a family film, but it introduces the idea and the concept of death in such a brilliant way. I urge all parents to show their kids this, because it really does present this in a really thoughtful and entertaining and clever way. And it's beautiful. It's a great film with a great message, and it tackles a subject that you wouldn't expect from a film like this, but it's beautiful. It's so good. I can't sing its praises enough. I absolutely love it.
Fantastic. Well, here's something you can actually give an opinion on. So Black Marvel superhero Ghostlight tackles race and social division. So Marvel have decided that they're going to introduce a new black superhero character, which I have absolutely no objections to, because it's a new character. This is what we're talking about. But they've decided that they're going to go down this political route with this character. Now, I don't know if Hollywood have been paying attention.
No.
But I think audiences have told them that they don't like characters, even if this is a new character. Why can't he just be a superhero that happens to be black, that does all those amazing things that other superheroes do? Why does it have to? I mean, where is this superhero based in the 1940s and 50s, and when race was an issue, or is this a modern day superhero? Because if it's a modern day superhero, I can tell you now, nobody wants to be lectured about being racists, because
this is not going to go down very well outside of America, because the way America absolute cultural fixation isn't isn't resonant with everywhere else, generally, because in Britain we have a very different history with race as to America, so that audience is already going to be kind of. But look, if the villains in this story or stories is going to be just focusing on white people being racist, that's racism. Okay, I had this argument with someone on Twitter that they said that black people can't be racist to white people. This is what's being forced in this critical race theory, that we're not even seen as human. You know, like that's not good. That we've done nothing, and that you can say anything you like because we don't really matter. This is not helping. This is not sorting or solving division. This is creating division.
Right.
And if every story is going to be, the villain is white people being racist, it gets really boring very quickly. And it doesn't solve anything. It's just a divisive propaganda for critical race theory. Let's see, maybe it isn't. Maybe it will go back to MLK and talking about how race shouldn't matter, what skin color shouldn't matter, but the content of the character matters. Proper good old classic civil rights stuff. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and dictate what black people should
members
say.
And all all well and good, like.
But I'm just saying. I'm just saying that can we just maybe not be manipulative pricks about this? I don't know. It might be a good idea not to do that, and focus on racism from all spheres. If you're going to do that, do it properly and be honest about it. Don't use this as just another propaganda tool to whack people and say, look at those evil white Republicans who are responsible for all the world's ill. Look, I don't care about Republicans. I'm not American. I don't particularly care about conservatives. I don't care about Labour. I don't care about socialism. I don't care about all of these things, because it's all a canard. Okay, it's there to divide people. The left-right tussle is in a three-dimensional reality, superficial, and it's divisive.
PD?
So I'm just kind of fed up with this. And if people want to pay money for it, go ahead, knock yourself out. But don't add to the social destruction. We want cohesion. We need to bring the world back together, heal the world, and
make this a better place.
Make it
for you and for me.
Everyone, hands in the air, lighters.
Our human race. Michael Jackson had a great message there.
Michael Jackson would be revolving in his grave faster than he would in Billie Jean. Let's be honest.
Absolutely, man.
With a power source would be going so fast.
Excuse me, but PD, would you like to add something to it before we move on to the next?
It's just so stereotypical, isn't it? They're moaning. I mean, they're moaning the black community gets stereotyped. They create another stereotype for them. It's like, it's who's his companion? Lady Karen, or LGBTQRSTUVWXYZ boy. It's just ridiculous. Make a good superhero.
Grievance is not going to fix anything. It's going to make things worse.
Exactly. It's just going to make more people miserable, isn't it?
It will. It will. I mean, look, there's still people out there that refuse to learn the lessons from, so I mean, fans will keep speaking with their wallets and won't watch these and tune out. But any fans of the Flintstones,
there's already a black superhero. We've got what's the guy? Fuck, my brain.
Samuel L. Jackson as well. His character in it.
No, I'm talking about like an actual
Blade
superhero.
Blade.
Blade.
No, the one. What's his name? The YouTuber guy. Come on, chat. You know what I'm talking about.
YouTuber guy.
Yeah, like. Sod off the lot of you.
What bleeding planet are you living on?
You know
There's some
the guy who made that comic book that sold like millions of bloody copies.
Oh, Rippaverse.
Ripper, yeah, Ripperverse. I mean,
Ripper, yeah, he's a good hero.
ripping him off. And
Yeah,
they're
he's
going to
stealing
use
Ripper's money. Yeah.
like he needs to address that. And go like, you know, don't buy that, buy mine.
Right, here's a question for you all, though, and includes the chat as well. Any fans of the Flintstones here say yay? Yay.
That's when I was a kid.
Okay.
This is
Well,
depressing.
yes, it is depressing.
Velma vibes.
Because what I'm about to show you, listen, to me, the Jetsons, the Flintstones are iconic, right? To me, because we grew up as kids watching these, and obviously they were out years before we were even born, and there was other kids watching, so they lasted a long time. But as Hollywood always does, they have decided that the Flintstones should get a spin-off, a sequel series called Bedrock. And it's going to be an adult comedy. And the series is set 2 decades after the Flintstones, as Fred nears retirement, and his daughter Pebbles begins to embark on her own career. Now, do you notice how they said as Fred nears retirement and his daughter Pebbles? So you can already tell what this is going to be used for. But the cast, the voice cast,
excuse me,
voice actors were announced.
Why isn't Bam Bam non-binary and like stunning and brave and the central character? Because that's transphobic if it's not.
So there's the voice cast.
Bam Bam in a tutu, yeah.
What happened to you have to be the same race as the cartoon character you were playing? Does it only work one way?
Oh yeah, I remember all of that controversy.
Rules for
Good point, man. But you see, it doesn't give to me, right? To me, I don't give a shit who the voice actors are. Can they voice the characters? To be honest, to me, can they voice the characters? I don't know if they're trying to do the original voices. I hope they are trying to do the original voices of those characters. If so, if they pull the original voices off, I'm happy with that aspect of it, right? But when you read the part, the adult comedy series is set 2 decades after the Flintstones, as Fred nears retirement and his daughter Pebbles begins to embark on her own career. So they've already told you that the focus is going to be on his daughter, and Fred is going to be in the background.
My main complaint about that is the word adult, because we've seen this with Velma and the way they subverted Scooby-Doo and you know all that gang. So this looks to me like this is a common theme that is going to become a pattern now by going back to classic kids cartoons, subverting them, and turning them to adult
I don't want that.
Innuendo laden, filthy.
That's what I mean. I don't want that, man.
And it takes away the innocence of it. It's just a stain on our history and our cultural history and our childhood.
I think it's disgusting, actually.
Memories. I'm fed up.
To be honest, I do. I think it's disgusting. The destruction of people. Look, I know today they don't get it in Hollywood, and the people that support all of this nonsense don't get it, right? But we grew up with
they
these.
know what they're doing. They know what they're doing.
We're emotionally attached to these. You can't just turn everything into an adult. Yeah. No, man. I don't want an adult.
It's just a waste of money, and they can't have the money anymore.
I don't want an adult Flintstones series. I honestly don't. I never asked for it. Don't want it. The Flintstones is a timeless classic, as I said.
Yeah.
Just like the Jetsons. Leave it alone. Right? We got that crossover. That was enough. Right? We don't need any more Flintstones. You won't do it the way it was supposed to be done. Right? Because Fred, right, he's listen, actually, we have to add this. Some of the males in this cartoon would be problematic today because they were sexists,
God, should we teaching Fred not to be sexist?
right?
Oh God.
Could you imagine? Right, it's not going to work, but that's the way it was. He was a caveman. Of course, he was going to be bleeding sexist, right? But the women in that show weren't weak. The women in that show, the wives were very, very fucking smart in that show, but they'll just make the men completely. Look, they were stupid. Fred and Barney were stupid, like, but not stupid as in stupid. You know what I mean? Whereas now they were to be
the good thing about this, people will just go back and watch the original cartoons and rediscover the joy that they brought, and that's the good that will come out of this, I think.
Yeah, I've been watching Tom and
this
Jerry.
This will just be consigned to. Yeah, I love Tom and Jerry. Who doesn't love that? I mean, it ended very dark, though, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. That last episode did. That last episode did. Did. That's the debate that we've had for years, man. Right, that end, the two of them sitting on those train tracks. Did they or didn't they? That's the question, because we never got to see that. I would like to think that they didn't, and Jerry was able to convince Tom that there was more to life than your one. Because that is very dark. But Tom and Jerry was, if you go back and watch the cartoons, we had all this great music and the chases and all of that. But look at the stuff that actually happened, and it was quite sinister. We grew up with some of the best cartoons. Get away, they're all pussies now.
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. I mean,
man, could you imagine animals of Farthing Wood being shown today? They'd set up counselling sessions for the fucking kids afterwards, man.
It'll be like Happy Tree Friends. You remember that? Yeah, I mean, look, growing up in the 80s, we had a lot of, they screened a lot of the cartoons from the 1930s and 40s and 50s and 60s, which, kids who grew up in those times would have watched those in the cinema and wouldn't have had them really broadcast on TV as such. And then we obviously had a lot of great cartoons from the 80s as well. So we were spoiled. We had a good run. These buggers come along and just want to, take all these wonderful childhood memories and just subvert them for the sake of being, oh, look at me at a cocktail party talking about how I subverted Scooby-Doo and how I subverted the Flintstones and whatever else is next. It's just like,
I'm worried now.
I'm
worried now because they literally will touch anything now. We used to think it was just movies and TV shows, but now it's literally everything.
It's every aspect of our culture.
Nothing is sacred anymore. Yeah. I'm talking about sacred. I don't know about yours, but I'm a bit of a Quentin Tarantino fan, and as you know, he's only did a certain amount of movies in his Hollywood career, and he has said he is preparing to direct his final film titled The Movie Critic.
Oh, not Kill Bill 1 and 3.
So this is apparently going to be his last movie. Now, I know to some people he's like Marmite. You either like him or you don't. I am a fan of his movies. I'm not going to lie. He doesn't always get it right. I have to be honest. I'm not going to go as far as to say he's one of the greatest directors we've had, because that would be unfair to say. But he's up there as a top director, in my opinion. And I do like his movies. Some are better than others. But I do have a soft spot for Death Proof, which is an absolute joke of a movie. But I actually have a soft spot for that movie, even though it's all over the place. But I'm not. You know what? He's been announcing that he's only going to do a certain amount of movies over the years.
3 more turn up.
I'm being honest. He did say 10 movies originally. This will be his 10th. Whether he retires remains to be seen, because money does talk. But if he actually does stick to it and does retire, I think he's left some great Great movies. There are some great movies. Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, definitely a brilliant movie. I don't care what anybody says. That's a bleeding brilliant movie, man. I love Reservoir Dogs. Oh,
Love
man.
Kill Bill.
Kill Bill is not.
I like-
See, I didn't really like
I
that.
like Jackie
Love it.
Brown.
Oh, I love
I like
Jackie
Jackie- I
Brown,
like-
and Jackie Brown gets an
I-
awful lot of stick. De Niro was great in that movie. De Niro's
Oh,
great in
yeah.
that movie.
I
Great movie,
enjoyed
Jackie
that
Brown.
one more than these sort of big blockbustery types, because I just thought a lot of it is style over substance.
I
just
did
trying
like
to be edgy.
Django. Not gonna lie, I did like Django Unchained. Great movie. But yeah, so apparently he's gonna retire. We'll see. But I am a fan of his movies, so I will go. I will say though, his last couple of movies haven't been really that great. I have to be honest. So he better go out with a bang. So we'll see. We'll see. Only time will tell, of course. But if he does retire, fair play to him. You know, he's got good movies there. He's got some not so good movies, but overall, he's been a great director, in my opinion. But there you go, some Quentin Tarantino news. Yeah, I don't think the lads are into Quentin Tarantino like I am. So
Not particularly, to be honest.
I like Kill Bill.
I have enjoyed them, but I find that I get kind of a bit not overwhelmed, just kind of like, okay, can we just do something else now?
they are in your face, aren't they? Yeah,
not for me.
He doesn't give you a lot of time to breathe, does he? He's really full on. I will say that, but I think that's what makes him stand out than others.
And he did
Lee,
relaunch
you
a few careers as well, you know.
He
Oh,
did
yeah.
Take that
actually. He did relaunch a good few. I mean, there's some actors that he got in these movies that were like, really, you
And
really
can
got.
can we just agree that Uma Thurman is fantastic in just about everything? So let's be honest.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Kill Bill anyway. So
I like
yeah.
Kill Bill.
But she's great.
Mm.
She's just great. I love.
I got
Uma
the swords on my wall.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the
Never really
tracksuit.
got into the
No,
the
it's
Kill
too far.
Bill.
Yes,
the
I
Kill
sniff it
Bill
every
thing.
night.
Well, it's
Anyway.
kind of just like him trying to do Ang Lee, basically.
Do you know what though? I didn't think we'd actually do it, but we've actually gotten through all the topics tonight, so we can relax now. And
True Romance.
if
is
there's
Bonnie Rose.
if there's anything you guys now, if there's anything that just has popped up, actually actor, before we come on, the actor from The Wire and Fringe, what's his name, Lee?
Are you going to take everything from me? Like,
Oh, is that
honestly,
what you were
I'm
going to bring
slap
up?
you.
Oh, for God's sake!
I
I've done it again.
was just
Well, go on,
fighting to get a word in. But Lance Reddick, fantastic actor. He was known from The Wire. I watched him in Fringe. He was really great in that. He was also well known as Sharon in the John Wick franchise. He's passed away. Don't know the full details yet, but he died at the age of 60. Very young. A great actor. Great screen presence. It's quite a loss, really.
God,
only
Lance
recently
Reddick.
watched Fringe.
Hasn't he been in everything, Lance Reddick? He's just one of those amazing actors that's just in everything.
Very prolific, absolutely.
Mm.
And a joy to watch. And it's sad to see he's passed away so young.
God.
There you are.
Yeah.
He just starred in that horrible Resident Evil atrocity as well, didn't he?
Yeah, well, look,
No. Well, I
what
mean,
can
they
you
do. Listen, everybody does make some bad decisions
Yeah.
in life.
I think he was the best thing in it, wasn't he? Lance Reddick was just the best thing in it.
Yeah, apparently so.
Yeah, that's such a shame. I mean, I've seen him bits of popping up in bits and pieces. He's in loads of films over the years. My most memorable one was probably John Wick for me.
Yeah, the
Fringe for
John
me.
Wick franchise. Yeah, I mean, how many more movies do people need of that franchise? Though, I mean, just asking. I mean, you complain about sequels, but I hear every movie gets better and better. But Is there a cutting off point for? I'm actually asking people that are fans of John Wick out there. Is there a cutting off point for you guys now? Do you think this should be the last movie, or is there more? Would you like to see more? I don't know. Let me know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, how many Fast and Furious movies have they got now? 7, 8? I mean,
Yeah, loads.
you know what I mean? Sometimes you should just pull the plug, even on if a franchise is on a high. I mean, a lot of fans. I'll give you an example, right? Back to the Future, right? It's a trilogy that's talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I'm a fan, right? But there's always been some part of me, even as a fan, wished that we had gotten a part 4, right? All the way through.
Yeah.
But obviously, I've gotten older now, and I look back now, and I'm glad it's a trilogy. And I'm glad it kind of ended on a high, because the third movie is a great movie. I think it is a great movie. I don't know if people actually agree with me, but I do. I think the setting of it, being in the Wild West, I thought it was very good, very well done. Throwbacks to the first two, brilliant. For me, it was the perfect ending to the trilogy. But there's always been talks, and still, even to this day, Back to the Future 4, Back to the Future 4. And even the writers have come out themselves and said, look, it's never going to happen.
They don't want it. They'll never break it.
It's just never going to happen. Not in our lifetime, basically, is what they said. So basically, they're saying is the only way it's ever going to get done is probably when they're dead. But I'm pretty sure when those guys, are getting near Death Star, they've already signed some shit to make sure that doesn't happen. Look, Back to the Future should never get another movie, and it should never get a remake. It would be interesting, a remake, if it was done maybe 10, 15, maybe, well, actually go a bit longer, 20 years ago, right? Because there would have been none of this politic rubbish. Yeah. I mean, even Michael J. Fox has talked about, it'd be great to see Back to the Future with a female lead. And then didn't Sean Astin say something about the Goonies having a female lead?
Yeah.
I mean, everything is female lead, female lead, female lead. Now leave it alone. Marty McFly was in the DeLorean, so was the Doctor. That's it. Right? You had your girlfriend in it, your future wife, blah, 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 but then she was knocked out by the Doc, which is a bit creepy when you think of it that way. But that's exactly what happened. Right? Okay? Only Marty. I know in the cartoons they let these kids run riot and stuff, which was actually pretty good, I have to say.
Yeah.
If you're going to do something, actually, if you're going to do something related to Back to the Future, then you could do, with the kids. Maybe, well, you couldn't, I don't know if you could, Michael J. Fox. I've seen him recently. He's not looking too good, I have to be honest with you, folks. It's amazing that he's still working. I have to be honest. But that's the character that he is. He's a fighter, and it is nice when you do see him. But every time I see him, my heart breaks, man. Because you see the way he used to be. Parkinson's is fucking disgusting, man. It's the one, isn't it? We still haven't actually figured that out, haven't we? Not. It's so sad, man. It's so sad. Back to the Future should be left alone. That Back to the Future Tailgate Games was the ending. Yeah, which I played, and someone cleverly actually got all of those clips from the game and turned it into a movie. We actually did it on this channel, didn't we? We watched the game as a movie, didn't we? We did that a couple of years ago.
Ghostbusters.
Oh, was that with Ghostbusters? Did we not do the Back to the Future one? Oh, we did the Ghostbusters one. We actually enjoyed that one, didn't we, lads?
Yeah. I've actually
so
played
we might sometime. I'm not saying soon, but maybe someday we'll do the Back to the Future one. But yeah, I love that franchise. But yeah, again, Hollywood have just run out of ideas, though. That's the whole point here. And I think it's such a shame.
Yeah.
But lads, just to ask you, is there anything in the world of Hollywood that you're seeing that you want to bring attention to the audience that are watching? Lee, you did post something in the chat there. That we have the hosts. We have a chat there. You put something in the chat there concerning Netflix. Do you want me to? I don't know if I can actually play that clip, but do you want to talk about that Netflix thing briefly? Because
there's a Netflix cartoon with some bovine cow type characters, and there's it's a preschool animation series. I think it's preschool animation series. Ridley Jones has changed the character to a non-binary identity. A female bison explains, "If I'm going to lead the herd, I want to do it as myself," which involves adopting the name Fred and styling hair into horns to be more masculine. So yeah, this is propaganda again. It's insidious. This shouldn't be directed at kids. Kids are, don't need this kind of confusion, and it's promoting harmful ideology, which can lead to, as I said, all the risks that come with medicalization and surgery and all the rest of it. That if they go down that road, it's a disgrace. And quite honestly, this is the scandal of our times. Frankly, roll on Nuremberg 2.0.
See, the thing about that annoys me is that they're saying, "Oh, we're not interested in indoctrinating your kids. We're trying to educate them."
Gaslighting.
But yeah, when you look at these programs and the way they're framed, well, I'm sorry, I know the difference between being educated and being indoctrinated into something, and they're definitely being indoctrinated. They're not.
So definitely.
They're not being educated. And anyway, again, we know there always have been educational programs for kids on TV. It was a way of the TV companies getting away with brainwashing the kids with all the other crap.
This is the new climate change. Yeah, this is the new climate change, gender identity.
So So I mean, that was it. You put that up, and I have to say, even I was like gobsmacked. Is that how far it's gone? It's gone into kids' programs now, and that's very dangerous because parents will switch on the TV but not really pay attention to what their kids are watching. Right? There are some mothers and fathers who actually do watch what their kids watch because they know all the songs and all of that. But not every single parent out there is going to be sitting down and watching these programs with their kids. And
I bet you that episode where that character comes out as non-binary, I bet you that's not episode 1. I bet you it's not even episode 2 or 3. I bet you that's late on in that series because that's what they do. They hide it by putting it so they get you hooked onto the show. You watch it all the way through, then you're on board with the story, and then they drop these things in because by then it's too late. You're kind of already involved in it. So these kids are probably just watching it, enjoying it, and then falling in love with these characters, and then having that influence of that character on their psyche. And then when they start saying stuff like this, then it starts triggering.
That's how they get them in. Then,
exactly.
That's how they get them in because they've been playing on their emotions and their feelings all the way through, and then they suck them in that way. But PD, if you want to answer that, because I do have a question in the chat that I will put to the panel as well. If you want to add something to that about that Netflix, it's on Netflix, isn't it? It's not Disney Plus this time. So Netflix. It's Netflix.
Netflix that brought you Cuties.
Oh yeah. So yes, the same company that brought us the PO movie that that everybody was praising and stuff, and was we didn't even want to cover it on this channel. It was that disgusting. But anyway, PD, do you want to add on to this before I move on to the?
Probably bomb again, like everything else. Always bombs. I mean, they come along, and go, oh, it's going to be wonderful and all this. It's stunning and bright. Bombs loses loads of money. It's like, what's the point? Just don't do it. You know, you're going to end up running out of money. You've already lost one bank. You're going to probably lose 10 the way you're going. Oh, I just don't know. Just sick and tired of seeing this.
Anyway, let's talk about something that is coming out. Are you intrigued or excited by Oppenheimer by Christopher Nolan? I like Christopher Nolan movies. And Christian Bale's been in a lot of Christopher Nolan movies as well. But I do love Christopher Nolan's style of directing. I do like him and his brothers' stories. I mean, I do believe that, you know, the Dark Knight trilogy is probably the best thing in DC that they've done with DC, personally speaking. That's just me. I know others will be screaming at me, Batman 89 and Batman Returns. Don't get me wrong, I love those movies. But I do think the definitive Batman trilogy is the Nolan trilogy. Keaton wasn't in 3 movies, he was only in 2.
I don't care. He should have been 3.
He should have been, but you're right. But yeah, I do love Christopher Nolan, so I can't wait to see what this. I am intrigued, I have to be honest. I don't know if the guys on the panel are Nolan fans, but we'll find out now. But Lee, you a Nolan fan, and are you looking forward to this movie?
I am. I find I love history. I love
same.
physics. I love all that kind of stuff. So to see the story of Oppenheimer on screen, and I'm interested to see how they did the practical effect for the nuclear explosion. So that's going to be
oh yes, I've heard of this one.
So I want to see that how that works. I you know, the story of Oppenheimer is a great story to tell, and you know, I mean, we've all seen that clip, you know, where you just see a close up of his face, and he looks like a completely broken man, and he talks about how he has become death, the destroyer of worlds. That is historically one of the most chilling interviews, you know, clips from an interview you could possibly imagine, and I would love to see how he went from being this sort of optimistic, wanted to improve the world and save the world and create these wonderful new technologies, and then seeing his inventions or his work being turned into this massive threat to all humanity. That, I mean, imagine what that person must have gone through, what Oppenheimer went through. That inconceivable. So I'm fascinated by it. I know I look very much forward to seeing it and how they present that on screen. It'll be fascinating. I hope it's lives up to its hype. I'm out of all the movies released this year, I think this and Dune Part 2 are the only 2 movies I'm really, really looking forward to. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Go ahead, PD.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really a Nolan fan, but he is a good director. But as I said, problem being just said, I'm looking more forward to Dune 2. I've got to see Dune 2. I thought Dune 1 Part 1 was amazing. I really enjoyed that. Just blew my head up. Just blew me away. It had everything. It was cerebral science fiction. So I can't wait for the sequel. But I wish Nolan all the success. I saw how they made the nuclear bomb explosion. It was really good. It really went out their way to try and make it as perfect as they could to the original. It took them ages to get the explosion right. Must have gone for a megaton of explosives just to get it right. Yeah. They put their heart and soul into it, so I wish it all the best, you know.
Well, we'll see what happens, man. It is being hyped, this Nolan movie. It's been really hyped. It's been talked about for a long time as well. Sometimes when movies are hyped like that, though, people expect something completely off the charts, and then when it doesn't reach those expectations, then people are kind of like, oh, okay. So I wouldn't get too hyped about it, but it is a movie that I'm definitely looking forward to. And there's not many movies this year, like Lee and PD have said. There's not actually many movies that I'm really looking forward to this year because it all looks like shite, to be quite honest with you. I like me movies sometimes to be intelligent. I like movies that make me think. I like movies about history. I like those movies that people would consider boring movies, but I like those movies. Those movies are great, but they don't make enough of those movies anymore.
No.
We get propaganda filled fucking rubbish, and then if we do get any action movies, they're not really great, except for Plane. And I'm gonna hype that movie. Listen, I thought this movie was gonna be crap, right? Gerard Butler plays a pilot, right? And something happens, he's playing. I won't tell you what happens. But he has to make an emergency landing on this island. But on this island, it happens to be a bunch of drug dealers, right? And his passengers gets kidnapped. And it's up to Gerard Butler and a prisoner, right, who work together to try get their passengers back. I know I'm not giving it the hype that it deserves, but I thought this movie was going to be absolutely trash. And I have to say, it was probably one of the best movies that I've watched. If you like your old-fashioned action movies like they used to do in the 90s, do you remember those movies, action movies in the 90s, right? If you like those style of action movies, right, but done in today's standard, then this is the type of movie for you. The fact that, the plot should be absolutely ridiculous, but this absolutely works, and it's a great movie. It's a great movie. I didn't think I would be shouting its praises, but I watched Plane with Gerard Butler, and it was actually very good. So if you just want a good action flick, you don't really need to think too much, but you want to eat popcorn and have a good time watching the movie, that's the movie for you. Now, if you want to watch a depressing movie, then I suggest that you watch Tom Hanks's new movie, which I'm saying it's depressing, but it's also funny. And I actually have to be honest, it's probably one of Tom Hanks's best performances in a long time. It's called A Man Called Otto, and he's a husband, but you'll get to if you watch it, you get to see what happened. It's about him, but it's very sad, but it's also very uplifting as well. I was conflicted about watching this Tom Hanks movie though, because there is rumors flying about, and if anybody ever seen that screenshot from BBC News, which apparently was supposed to be a fake, but BBC News apparently were reporting on that Tom Hanks was actually arrested on allegations of what Jimmy Savile was accused of. Fredo. So there was a little bit of a debate whether I should watch this movie or not. But I decided to give it a go, and you know what? Tom Hanks does it again. When it comes to his acting, I just cannot fault the man. He just anything that he does, he just engrosses himself into the role, and it's a great movie. I have to be honest, but as I said, you look at the movies that are coming out in the next few months, and there's a lot of shite. So you wanna nowadays. Lee will agree with me. PD will agree with me. Nowadays, you have to really look. Years ago, you never had that problem, because there was always a movie for someone that was great. Seriously, there was that. Did you know what? For apparently the amount of choice or diversity that we have in movies, there does seem to be a lack of choice. I remember back in the day, we had a lot of choice, different genres. Do you remember you go to a video shop, They literally be in the genres that they were supposed to be
Yeah.
in. There's not really genre movies anymore. If you think about a lot, they're not really. They're all a amalgamation of each other, or, you know what I mean, or a mix of each other. They're not just the one. They don't do proper thrillers anymore, or proper
Yeah.
action movies anymore, or proper sci-fi movie. There always has to be some fucking nonsense in there. You know, back in the day it was completely different. But here, guys, obviously I've promoted 2 movies there, so I suppose it's only fair that I let Lee and PD do the same. So we'll start with you, Lee, because you always have a good eye for cinema or TV. Has anything caught your eye in the last week?
I've been I've actually just finished watching because I subscribe to ITVX, and I've been looking backwards rather than looking anything currently, actually.
Right.
And I've been really enjoying Good Night, Sweetheart, a comedy from the 1990s. And I never used to watch it when I was younger because it just looked really boring to me. And I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a time travel sitcom with Nicholas Lyndhurst, where he just accidentally walks through this passageway and ends up in 1940s East London, and he has to sort of swap between 2 lives, one in the 1990s, one in the 1940s, and he ends up falling in love with this girl in the 1940s, even though he's married in the 1990s. And it's some great fun. It's got one of the brothers from Bread in it. I can't remember what the actor's name is, but he's really, really great in that. And he's sort of like the friend who's hard put upon to kind of get him out of trouble all the time. I just found it really charming. I do kind of miss that 80s, 90s British sitcom. And it was nice because I never really gave it a chance when I was younger. Now I've watched it. I'm glad that I've discovered something new that's old, you know. So that was a joy. And there's a question in speaking of history. Walt Eyebrow asked me, since I'm a lover of history, what's your favorite period or story? That's interesting. I would have to say my favorite period of history would be the Regency period, you know, or France, Versailles, that kind of thing. I don't know what you mean by story. Do you mean like historical story, or?
He's probably talking about movie on a historical event, maybe that your favorite.
Ooh.
Like you had Cleopatra,
really
you had what else had you got? You had Ben Hur, was not based on Shy.
Yeah.
Chariots of Fire.
I really enjoyed the
Jesus ones, because there was a few of them.
Yeah.
John the Baptist.
I really like the series of I'll stop. I'm trying to remember it. You keep saying other things.
Ancient
Spartacus.
Egypt.
The Spartacus.
Oh, Spartacus. Yeah, we all like Spartacus.
Well, I love. I don't know stories. I mean, I used to read a lot of books when I was younger, and one of my favorite books was Voltaire, Candide by Voltaire. I'd love to see that adapted into a TV series or a film. I know it's an opera. It's been turned into an opera years and years and years and years ago, but I'd like to see an adaptation of that onto either the small screen or the large screen. I think that would be a really good fun. So it's a book written in the 18th century, but it was funny. It was a short adventure. So it's like the world's first adventure story. Like he goes globe-trotting around the world, and then it's a story about optimism. And I'd really love to see that adapted properly on screen. And I think it made me laugh out loud. It was so bonkers. It's so silly. And really strange things happen. And it's all going through events that actually happened, and it's like all the bad things that happened in history around that time. This guy Candide keeps coming a cropper, like traveling the world and ending up in the middle of an earthquake in Lisbon, or all sorts of the Catholics burning people, whatever, the Altar de Fe. Great stuff. It's a fun little book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it.
Yeah. Braveheart, someone wrote. I was going to say The Passion of the Christ. The greatest story ever told. And love the Persuaders, Roger Moore plus Tony Curtis. Fantastic. Should make a movie version.
And John Jack Rabbit says, "I love Only Fools and Horses. Keep out appearances." Jack, if you haven't watched Goodnight Sweetheart, I think you'd like it as well. It's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I agree. Unlike Lee, I actually loved this show when it was out. So Lee did really miss out. But it is.
Well, I'm glad that I did miss out then, because I got to enjoy it now.
But that's the whole thing about having ITVX. So ITVX seems to be delivering by the sounds of things.
I tweeted at them. I tweeted at them and said, like, because I did a 2016 special. I said, "Can we have some more?" I know he's gone through a bereavement, but it'd be nice, to have a like.
Well, apparently those apps
they did the special set. Wait, they did the special set in the 1960s.
Yeah,
and then into 2016, and that was really funny. And so I said, can we, commission can you lot commission a new series? And they actually responded, quite positively. So they're engaged as well. That was quite nice.
Well, they wanted to work because they've put all their eggs in one basket with this platform. So I hope they don't fall flat on their face. Jordan Jack Rabbit wants to know though, which is actually a good question, because if there's any UK people out there, they will want to know this actually. Are they censoring any of their content? Is there any trigger warnings on any of their content?
I didn't notice anything like that. I mean, I haven't watched all that. I've only recently subscribed, but I watched Goodnight Sweetheart, and I think that was completely intact.
Okay. Well, that's a good sign.
They've got the Doctor Who stuff on there. I didn't see any trigger warnings like they did on BritBox about contains attitudes of its type, whatever it is. But they might have done, and I just I've just at this point blotted it out because I just don't pay any attention to it. So I don't know.
Apparently, ITVX also have some Japanese anime on it, because I know Nicholas is a huge fan of anime. So that's good. Again, mixing their content up, which is really good. I might have to give Goodnight Sweetheart a shot, Lee. You should. And if you haven't watched One Foot in the Grave, which nobody seems to bring up when they talk about great British comedies,
I love
One Foot in the Grave is brilliant. And some mothers do have them. Frank Spencer. Nobody brings that
and
up.
It ain't our
either.
fault, Mum. It ain't our fault, Mum. It ain't our fault, Mum. That's another one. That was another great comedy.
Oh man, good old days of TV back in the UK and Ireland. Yeah. Yes, we had some great TV. But he's right. Again, it highlights Lee is talking about the past. Right. If modern TV, right, if these companies were doing their job, we wouldn't be talking about the classics. Yeah, we would still be talking about, but not the way we're talking about it. We wouldn't be going back and watching the classics. But I'm even feeling with some old game shows as well. I started to watch fucking Bullseye again.
Yeah.
Right? Old episodes of Bleeding Bullseye. Right? The prizes were shy. But and there was a bit of sexism and all, right? Because Jim could. But it was funny as hell. The questions were great. The dart playing was, for the experts, were deadly, but the amateurs were just awful. But it made for a really compelling fucking show back in the day. I remember growing up as a kid watching that, but watching it again, I was like, this is good. They don't even make game shows the way they used to. Like Bullseye, you had the prices right, play our cards right, the generation game, right? You had Pop Black, right? What else had you got? You had I'm missing loads. Strike It Lucky, Remember, and then they changed the name to something else. Strike It Rich, I think it was called then when it brought it back. You had Blankety Blank. You had all the on no, seriously. What have you got now? What have you got now?
Oh, they're terrible.
Okay, you do have. I will say you have the Chase, and I do like the new format of the Chase, and I'm delighted for Bradley Walsh. I do like those two shows, right? But then you have Tipping Point, Borden. You had a show called Golden Balls a few years ago, and that caused controversy because people were stealing other people's money, even though that was the name of the game. But people were getting upset and assaulted on it, so I think they had to cancel that show. But they don't do Saturday night entertainment anymore. Noel's House Party was another thing as well. Russ Abbott. Do you remember Russ Abbott back in the day? Right, you had Hello. You had what's it? I always Last of the Summer Wine. You had the old version of All Creatures Great and Small. I mean, Jesus, Catchphrase is another one. Yes, Jack. I mean, Jesus Christ, man. We grew up with amazing television. I pity. Seriously, I'm glad I had the childhood I had. I'm glad we grew up with the TV that we grew up with, because it did shape some of us and it did have an impact on us all. And you know what? It's still relevant to this day, and it's still, most of it holds up to this day. Do you know why? Because it was well done, well written, brilliant characters. I just like, even the comedy. BBC don't do comedy anymore. People ask me, is there any good comedies on BBC? No, they don't make good comedies. Lee has even explained it. They don't make comedy on BBC anymore because they're afraid to be sued. Okay? They won't. Comedians have to be, they are cancelled. Comedians have to censor themselves. As soon as comedians start censoring themselves and apologizing for past jokes, was when that industry became a dead industry.
You said right?
Because if you cannot break those boundaries and cross those lines and tell those jokes that other people wouldn't tell, well then we've lost all hope. Right? That's the whole point. Right? It's the whole point of it. Right? People tell jokes about horrific things all the time. Right? Might upset a few people, but that's what we do. That's how we get on with it. That's how some people deal with it, through laughter. Okay?
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. I mean, you know what I mean? It's just crazy. But I tell you, I would not change 1 second of the TV or the movies we grew up with. Not one thing would I change. Everything that we watched was brilliant. Well, not everything, but I will tell you one thing that today's creators don't have, that the old creators had: passion, skill, intelligence, actually talent. And that's what's missing today. They don't have that creative spark. They don't have the know-how to come up with a brand new idea and make it become something. We've again, as I said, not just society, but we seem to, as a race, we've become less intelligent as the years have gone on, as the decades have gone on. And it's a very worrying trend, to be quite honest. It'll be like that movie WALL-E. Do you remember, where we all end up in space and overweight and dumb? That's exactly what will happen as all if we continue down this path. There's no intelligence in that anymore. Even science has become a joke.
Yeah, the science.
They don't trust scientists anymore. And do you know what? Do you remember, Lee and PD? You remember this? There was always a time where we trust scientists. Even when the news were talking, we'd always trust the scientists to steer us in the right direction and say, no, they're lying. This is the fact. These are the facts.
Well,
you can't even trust science anymore.
I grew up being, suspicious just about bloody everything, but that's Gen X for you. But I've always questioned things, and if I've never found an answer to be satisfactory. I want to know more. And I've gone through my life pretty much like that. If it doesn't seem right, then there's probably something not right.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I conspiracy about science and everything's, flat Earth and all that rubbish. I'm not like that. But what I'm saying is that when things are 99.9% this, or all people agree that this is the thing, I'm like, whoa, no, wait a minute. This isn't a democracy. Science has to be about evidence, has to be about facts and data. And when you get 99 point whatever it is, 98 point whatever it is, scientists agree. Nah.
Yeah, Nicholas, there was also a show called Pop Black on BBC as well. It was a snooker. Yeah, it was a snooker purist game. I know I am aware of the Jim Davison one as well, which I used to watch with what's his name, John Virgo, who used to come out and do the trick shots all the time.
Yeah.
There are two snooker shows. One is older than the other one, so it kind of showed me age a little bit there with the other one. But there you go. Yeah, there are two snooker shows that they had, and it was called Big Break. You are absolutely right, but they did have one called Pop Black as well. Bob's Full House, Bob Monkhouse was the king. Missed Bob Monkhouse.
I couldn't stand him.
Could you not?
My grandmother couldn't stand him. I couldn't stand him.
Why?
Because he kept laughing at his own jokes all the time. He just came across very smug.
But
I liked him I liked him at the end of his career when he was doing like the what was it, the cartoon series he was doing.
The Bob Monk. Yeah. I know what you're talking about, but I forget what it's called. Yeah.
He was great in that.
The two Ronnies.
When he stopped being self-referential, he became much more fun.
Raymond, the two Ronnies. Yeah, I remember the two Ronnies porridge as well.
Yeah.
Steptoe son. Yeah, there was some cracking.
Not a nice guy, to be honest.
Don't tell me he called you a piss drink.
No,
you don't.
I asked him for his autograph. He didn't like kids, apparently. So
you're always
he give me his autograph.
You're always getting into trouble with all these people, and you must just have one of those faces or something. Must be just.
I was 10 or something like that.
Yeah, well, even at 10, you must have had one of those faces. Everybody just seems to give out. I'm just telling you the facts, man. At 10, I was being bullied. At 10,
Tom Cruise was nice to me.
At 10, all celebrities thought you were an asshole.
Tom Cruise was nice to me. Fuck.
Yeah. The Scientologist was nice to you. Here, PD. The Scientologist was nice to him. Yeah,
you just felt sorry for him. That's why.
Yeah.
You couple of bitches.
Be quiet. There's nothing wrong with a bit of ribbon.
Shows we like you.
Ooh, I like you.
Yeah, Pop Black was before Colour TV when you had to describe.
Yeah. Oh.
Right, are we wrapping this thing up then, or what? Because I'm gonna eat.
Wasn't it? Really, Gladiators. Yeah, we can't forget Gladiators, and Gladiators is making a comeback. By the way,
a third comeback.
Yeah, but I love the Gladiators, so I don't care how many times to bring it back. That's the type of entertainment we grew up with. That's the type of entertainment that works. They should bring back shows like the Generation Game and all of those old games and get decent hosts to do with them.
Yeah.
Because they can't come up with anything new. So why not use the old formats? Because they brought in, listen, Saturday nights on ITV and BBC were the place to be. Right, that was your entertainment. Everybody couldn't wait to tune in. See, we all knew what was on, but we had their schedules. I don't know if your mum and dad did the same thing, but my dad would literally sit down with the TV guide on a Thursday night, and he'd mark out what we were watching on Saturday, right? Saturday evening. So from BBC to ITV, and plan out our whole evening. Or what TV shows, what game shows, what evening shows we're going to watch. And I just want to throw in there as well, we watched Unsolved Mysteries as well. That was thrown in there on a Saturday night as well.
Coronation Street really screwed with my Doctor Who. Thank God for VHS. That's all.
Yeah. Coronation Street when it was good back in the day. I'll have no shame in saying
never good. No.
It was.
Hilda Ogden get lost.
Honestly. It was.
God, awful, depressing show. Good God. And then EastEnders came along. And, oh, God, it's even more depressing.
That was good in its early years. Come on, you can't lie. That had some of the most iconic storylines. But the problem with
Mary and a baby. God, Mary and a bloody baby.
But you know what the thing that's wrong with all these soaps is? Because they have gone on for too long, it's like, how many times can you remanufacture the same storyline with different characters? It's not going to work. Robot Wars, apparently we all just ignored Lee. Why was Lee saying
Jack knows what's up. He knows what's up.
Yeah. Of course you pick up for him, Jack. Right? Yeah. At the end of the day.
Loyalty. Right? That's loyalty there, Noel. Loyalty. Remember loyalty?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Robot Wars.
Loyalty.
Huge fan of Robot Wars. I have to say, I don't know what loyalty is. I'm Mr. Loyalty here. Let me see. Does anybody remember Brookside? Yeah, briefly.
Brookie, yeah.
Did they kill everybody? Didn't they kill the whole cast with a plane crash or something? They crashed the plane and the whole village
wasn't final enough. Should have nuked it as well just to make sure.
Did you watch Dream Team, Noel? Of course I did. It was a football show. Of course I did. I love that show. Recently someone asked Sky.
Spring Hill. Does anyone remember Spring Hill?
Spring Hill? I don't know if it rings a bell.
It was like a soap opera, but it had like this weird magic element to it, which was
really right. I think I did see that actually. Crossroads as well. I remember Crossroads. Jesus, that you're ancient. Fucking hell, Crossroads.
There was a remake as well.
Wasn't Crossroads the one with the weird music? Crossroads. Yeah, it had the weird. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah, and the wobbly sets. Benny. Remember Benny?
Benny went up a ladder and disappeared. His corpse is hanging from the ceiling.
Poor Benny.
Poor Benny went up the ladder and disappeared.
Yeah, I remember. That's mad, man. All the tea.
He never came down from that ladder.
Oh.
They remade Crossroads. I remember the remake.
I wouldn't. Great. You have to stick to the.
It was in the late 90s.
Noel Gordon.
So, do you find things like "Have I Got News for You" funny, or used to find it funny back in its earlier seasons?
I used to find it funny.
All of those shows that they do now used to be funny back in the day, but they're not now because they've obviously they've interweaved all of the modern nonsense into the show, so it's lost its charm. But yeah, all of those shows back in the day were great. Even the Frank Skinner one, Room 101 or wherever it was called, where celebrities come on. Yeah,
Brian Blessed and Tom Baker were the best guest hosts ever. Like they ruled the roost. But it was never really the same. It was never really the same when they got rid of what's his face. I can't remember his name now. The one who thought it was John Cleese all the time.
I can't remember. Oh yes, Angus Deaton.
Yeah, Angus Deaton. Yeah, the neighbour from One.
He was good. Yeah, and then there was that controversy around him, and then that was his career killed. I actually thought he was dead funny, man. What was his career was killed for again? What was he? What did he do again? He did something,
affair, didn't he?
Was it? Wasn't that? That's all it was. Yeah, imagine back in the day, you used to get cancelled for shit like that. You have an affair and your wife, your career's dead. Except if you are Michael Barrymore. And then, like, you have a party and then someone dies in your swimming pool, then you kill your career.
Well, don't forget, what's his face? He was on the red carpet who made a mincemeat out of that interview. Oh, God, my brain is just not with it. I'm not well. Love Actually, what's his name?
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant. Don't forget, he's still famous and got a career. And he shagged a prostitute. I mean,
I've seen a headline. I don't know if this is true, right? But apparently there's a headline, and I don't know if it's a meme or if it's real. But apparently that woman that he was with has accused Hugh Grant. She's suing him because apparently she got mouth cancer.
What?
oh please.
Now,
Really?
you can read what you want into that, basically, right? But I don't know if that is a piss take, but I did see that float around. But as you know yourselves, there's so much misinformation out there nowadays. You don't know what to believe. But I saw that headline somewhere. I think it was from the New York Post as well, and they put out some weird headlines. But this was one of these. I think she's actually suing him. If it's true, it's funny to me. Obviously, obviously, work is not as good as it used to be. So she needs to come out and resurrect her career.
Let's go back to Angus Dayton. It wasn't just an affair; it was cocaine and prostitutes. So.
Right.
But I mean, come on, right? Okay.
Yeah,
Johnny
but if you're
Depp-
taking it, you can understand it, because if he's the host of a show that takes the piss out of corruption in politicians and things
then
like
he's
that,
doing that stuff.
and he's doing
hypocrisy.
It's the hypocrisy. So I get that. It's just a shame that happened. Shouldn't have got caught.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I remember the reveal. Was it Hislop wore a t-shirt, and so did
they ripped him mercilessly. They hated
the whole
him.
last show.
Oh no, they did. I remember they did the grin on all of their faces, finally getting their own back on.
And then the audience yelled in the end, "Leave him alone."
In fairness, look, is he the first celebrity to F up? No. Should have been cancelled? Well, maybe not cancelled, but obviously, as Lee has pointed out, he was on a show where I suppose credibility and reputation of the host, if that's compromised in any way, it compromises the show. But maybe they could have got him to do. I know he tried to survive a little after it and try to take the piss out of himself, but it was too late. A lot of people had made up their minds, but I think it is unfair, really, to be honest. People do make mistakes, and I mean, let's be honest, if you're in his situation and there's money floating about and there's women and there's other stuff, right? Don't sit there and tell me for 1 second that most of you in the chat wouldn't be tempted, right? Because trust me, if you're in that situation, right, you can all comfortably say, and I can comfortably say, no, I wouldn't, right? But you don't know if you're not in that environment. You don't know what you could do, right? Okay, and some of us growing up on this panel were a bit wild in their younger days. So, it's not beyond people. I'm not talking about you, Lee. I'm talking about me, by the way. We know you are wild as well. But
no idea.
But yeah. But I was probably Jesus compared to you. But you're Mr. Cool as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, Angus Deacon. I don't know why we got into it because we were talking about old TV shows.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, it all stemmed because Lee was talking about, obviously, Good Night, Sweetheart. That was his pick because he's looking back, because that's how we're all feeling right now. And I'll get to PD but in just a second. But Lee, is there anything else you want to recommend? I don't want to just leave it there with Good Night, Sweetheart. Is there anything else that you've been watching that you'd like to make people aware of in the chat? And then when PD does his, then we'll wrap, and then I'll do mine. No, I already did mine. We'll wrap it up then after that.
Just really enjoying Picard season 3.
I haven't watched do me a favor, don't say nothing, because it's the first time I haven't actually watched the episode. I've left it. I don't know why. I should have watched it yesterday. but I'm going to watch it tonight. So please don't say anything about the latest episode. But I do agree with you 100%, mate. This show is just off the scale. I don't. Where do you know what? This is what makes me annoyed now. Because if this had been the fourth season of Picard and Discovery didn't exist, and this is what they started off with, we could sit here and say that that was a strong start for Star Trek, this franchise again. But unfortunately, we do have Discovery, and unfortunately, we do have the first 2 seasons of Picard. And there's still a lot of naysayers out there, Lee. But to me, I have to say, I think by each passing week, I think the noise that's coming from them is becoming less and less because this show keeps delivering, Lee. I mean, I'm actually...
Episode 4 was phenomenal. High stakes.
5 is just as good, mate.
And it
just as good.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy it as much because I think it wasn't as... I mean, after all that action and character development that we had a really good mix of in the previous episode, this was much more character driven, which is great. It was very interesting, very engaging, but it didn't have the same level of action as that balance that you had. You know, it was a little bit more glacial in its storytelling. I mean, I still enjoyed it. But I think it was episode 4 for me was the peak at the moment. I hope it gets better.
Yeah.
Chris asked a question, because I want to bring this up actually, because there are fans like Chris out there that believe that this with Picard season 3 and maybe Strange New Worlds is a once-off, and as soon as this is over, everything falls back to Kurtzman's control.
I hope what midnight about it.
Would this not? I'm just putting the other side out there. Would this not indicate, because I have said this on the channel previously, would this not indicate that there are actually changes going on behind the scenes and it won't necessarily fall back into Kurtzman control?
If Paramount isn't taking notes at this point, then they're stupider than Warner Brothers.
Too stupid to live, yeah.
If stupider is a word, it is now. But like, I will say that, quite honestly, if they don't hand over the reins to this guy, they're just, they're shooting
themselves in the foot.
Yeah, exactly.
In fairness, it should be. Look, I'll say it right, and you've said it.
What he's doing.
I think we can safely say that this guy. Yes, there are still some niggly issues that some of these fans have brought up, but we know why they're bringing it up. It's not they're just bringing it up because they want to nitpick. They want this to fail badly, but there are nitpicks. Of course there are, right? Not everything is perfect, right? But does it deliver what we want as Star Trek fans? And I have to say, the episodes that I've watched so far, I would have to say absolutely. And I did love Strange New Worlds, and I'm not going to lie. And I did praise Strange New Worlds.
This blows Strange New World.
It does, but I actually reckon Strange New World season 2 will actually go one better when it comes out.
If they bring this guy on, to write it and take control over it, I think that could be the case. There needs to be some changes to make it up to this level, I think. But I mean, this is night and day from what I've been hearing about seasons 1 and 2 of Picard, which I did not watch. But this is without doubt, without question.
Well, I did watch season 1.
The best Star Trek in years.
No, it is. No, I'm not just good. Look at. I grew up with the Next Generation crew. That was my Star Trek. I am an original series fan. I do prefer the original series. I'm not going to lie over Next Generation. The first few seasons of Next Generation, I found the cast to be very robotic. If I'm honest, it took me a long time to get to grips with the Next Generation because I did grow up as a kid because my dad was a Star Trek fan and he grew up with the original series, and it was showed on TV all the time. So that was the only Star Trek I knew. And then obviously when Next Generation came out in 89, I think it was, I was 10 years old, and that was my generation of Trek, the Next Generation crew, right? I have to say, I'm not messing, right? And the naysayers can say what they want, right? This is, right? And I've even watched Star Trek Voyager, so I know what I'm talking about. This is the best written Trek that we've gotten since, I would have to say, the original series. I don't think, listen, I know everybody has their favorite shows, Deep Space Nine and Enterprise and all of that. But there hasn't been any show, in my opinion, that has been better than the original series. And this comes close, this third series of Picard. It's up there. It's up there. Voyager had its moments. I'm a Voyager fan. By the way, I defend Voyager all the time. I love Voyager. But if I'm looking at this as a cold hard critic, it was shit. Right? Deep Space Nine warms up near, I think, the third season, and then it gets better from then. There's never been, we've had 4 episodes, right? And every single one of them have improved on the last one. This is getting better and better by each episode. You can't say that for any other series in the franchise bar the original series. Right? Next Generation had its moments and had some iconic episodes, but it wasn't consistent. Right? Original series was consistent. Picard is consistent. And I would even put Strange New Worlds in there. I thought that was very consistent. Now, that still has a lot of improvement, right? I'm not saying Strange New Worlds is perfect. Lee is right. Picard Season 3 wipes it off the floor right now, but I still love Strange New Worlds. It had things in it that I really loved, and I want to see a second season. And I believe it will be better than the first one. So I think that will improve. But this is the best Trek. I'm not messing. This show has blown me away. I was not expecting this whatsoever. I really wasn't. I thought, I've always said, out of all the franchises, Star Trek, it probably is in a better position than, say, Star Wars, right? But I didn't expect it to be this good. I'm being honest. Strange New Worlds, you can see this, the if you want to call them, the shoots of progress, the shoots of going in a different direction. And Picard Season 3 has shown that it's still continuing to go in that direction. So if they continue to go in this direction, Star Trek franchise will be saved without a shadow of a doubt. Because if that's the level that we're going to get with what we're getting in Picard Season 3, well, then we're in for some great Trek over the next few years. But we have to see, because there is that elephant in the room, which is Alex Kurtzman. So some fans don't believe it will change, and some fans believe it can. And we'll just have to wait and see. Any more last words from you, Lee, before we wrap up tonight? And I see we've lost PD. We'll see if we can get him back in before we do the channel shout-outs. But is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up tonight? If not, go and do your channel shout-outs. I'll do a few channel shout-outs. And
I just want to point out that India Willoughby, the gift that keeps giving, is wishing people a happy St. Patrick's Day, and posted a flag with orange, white, and green on it. But it's the Ivory Coast flag, not the Irish flag.
Right. Well, I can't really slag.
Same colours as
I
the
can't
Irish flag,
really
but
slag them off, because our Taoiseach did did exactly the same thing. He put the Ivory Coast flag up because he was fucking plastered on alcohol. He was pissed out of his head, decided to tweet and wish everybody a happy Paddy's Day. And he put the Ivory Coast bleeding flag in the fucking yoke, and everybody bleeding obviously trolled him for a week after it. I mean, it's not hard, folks. It's green, white, and orange. Okay, the flag isn't upside down, right? The colors are from a different country. If you can't, I mean, this just goes to show. This is another thing that actually, do you know what annoys me? Can I just say one more thing? Because I was talking about this to Cheryl today, right? And it's this whole thing about culture appropriation that we keep hearing people talk about. Well, how come it seems to be okay? And I just want to point this out as an Irishman, that nearly every single country in Europe and in the United States, I don't know if they celebrate Patrick's Day. In Canada, they probably do. Okay, but why is all celebrating our national holiday? Is that not culture appropriation? No. Like, shouldn't you all like give it up and let us have our own bank holiday instead of trying to take it off us? I mean, to me, I think it's all horseshit. I don't care if you celebrate St. Patrick's Day. I think it's great, actually, personally, that me country is known out there. Just wish he didn't think of us as all drunken leprechauns. But besides all of that and the stereotypes and stuff like that and the veiled racism, you know, we Irish don't really give a crap if you take the piss out of us. But, you know, doesn't it just show you how in society they're all a bunch of fucking hypocrites when they talk about culture appropriation but have no problem appropriating other people's cultures, but when people appropriate their cultures, they have a fucking problem with it. Maybe shut your mouth and, like, you know, just get on with it like we do. We don't actually care that you think that there's leprechauns here and that there's pots of gold and we go out leprechaun hunting and, you know, we eat fucking, you know, Lucky Charms and we say top of the morning to you. We don't give a shit about all of that shit, right? Because you know why? There's more important shit to be worried about, you know? And that's just the way it is. So, like, you know, stop with all of this bull, you know? And yeah, happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. But, like, you know, I don't really celebrate it myself because the snakes are still here. You know, St. Patrick was supposed to drive the snakes out, but we've got snakes in government, so he didn't really drive the snakes out. So I'm pissed at St. Patrick, so I don't celebrate it anymore. So if people didn't see loads of St. Patrick's Day posts from me, that's the reason why. I'm just sick of it all, man. You know, yeah. I didn't even watch the parade this year. And that's the first time in a long time. There you go. They had drag queens at our parade today. I don't know what drag queens and St. Patrick have in common. I don't know. I don't actually get that. St. Patrick's Day parade for me is supposed to celebrate Irish culture and the best that Ireland has to offer in creativity and stuff like that. And I don't see what a bunch of drag queens got to do with St. Patrick's Day and their culture.
Just think you were a funny joke on in the DM there.
You sent me a funny joke in the DM on Twitter.
Yeah. I think it's
all right. I love funny jokes. Am I allowed to read this joke out, or is this a private joke?
You have to show it. No, you have to show it. Like,
I have to show it. Okay, so it's not a private joke. Yeah, I just had to make sure.
It's silly.
Now.
It's just silly.
Right. So we'll end on a laugh as we always do. Yes. So subscribe to the Tarda Zone. Right. Monday, new Who Zone. Tuesday, preview what we're going to do on Friday. Wednesday, classic Who Zone. Friday, the Tarda Zone talks at 5:45 and all of that. And then tonight, every Friday, 9 o'clock with me, Lee. Chris won't be here for another 2 weeks, so we will try organize. We've got a week now to organize a special guest for next week. And I'm about to read this this out, and she can forget about getting Irish passports. You ain't getting an Irish passport, love. Right, I hate that as well, man. Another thing. Oh, we'll just get an Irish So you don't know what it is to be Irish, man. Right? You don't understand their history. I'm sick of American presidents as well. Listen, Joe, you ain't Irish, right? Just like Obama wasn't Irish and all the other gobshite American presidents. The only one that was Irish was fucking, what's his face, Kennedy. But he's not here, right? The rest of you weren't Irish. All right, maybe Ronald Reagan. Though it is a point to be given there that Ronald Reagan was, right? But the rest of them, not a chance, right? Stop trying to say you're Irish, right? You don't understand. And I hate these people say American Irish because my great grandfather. Well, yeah, okay, that was your great grandfather. You're not Irish American. You're not. You don't understand my culture. You don't understand what my people went through. So when you go and call yourselves Irish American, I think it's actually quite insulting, to be honest with you, because none of you is. If I asked you to name the people behind the Easter Rising, you wouldn't even be able to name one because you don't even know anything else outside your own country, your own bubble. Right? I hate that though. I seriously do hate that, man, though. It's the one thing that does rub up my skin. Being Irish is not just something to be, a tag to put on. There's a whole history behind it. And I wish before anybody called themselves Irish American or Irish or whatever, that you learn that history first and understand it. And then you will understand why Irish people like me are always sick and tired when we hear, I'm American, I'm Irish American. No, you're not. You've never, this is probably the first time you set foot in Dublin. You probably never set foot in Ireland either. Some people tweeting on Twitter. You've probably never been in the country. You probably can't tell me the date of the Irish famine. Tell me how many people died during the Irish famine. You wouldn't be able to tell me the names of the 1916 leaders. You wouldn't be able to name me nothing. Anyway.
No.
Yes, we're finishing up now.
Oh, there we go.
Yes. Right, he's back now for the shout-outs. Yeah, I needed to go on that little rant just so PD could hurry up. But anyway, here we go. Here's this joke, apparently. Haven't read it yet, so I don't know if it's actually funny. But let's see. What is this? Okay, if that's a real picture, first of all, I'm intrigued. And I know it's supposed to be a joke. But how the hell did someone get 2 slices of bread and wedge a slice of cheese and a slice of ham between the two of them stacked up? So, hey, honey, can you make me a sandwich? We'll be home in 15 minutes. Sure. Sandwich, too late. What's this? What
do you mean?
What do you mean? Oh, yeah, I'm leaving you. Oh. Well, in fairness, that's why you should always check your auto, whatever you call it, auto correct. I don't have it on my own phone. I still make mistakes with me bleeding spelling. But I know that's supposed to be funny, but I'm intrigued. There has to be a toothpick in there somewhere.
Yeah.
There's no way that's real.
Yeah.
We should try that. We should try that.
Very pokery to it, yeah.
We should. Do you know what? I'm going to try that. I have no, I don't have slices of cheese, but I do have slices of ham. And I do have that brown bread.
Stan Hamwich.
Anyway, Lee actually put that up because he's trying to tell me at the same time that he's starving.
What's the joke, Raymond? Oh my goodness! I thought it was quite. I like things who take things literally and then they make a joke. If you have to explain it.
Yeah, I'm just more intrigued that they were able to stack those up. I know it's a joke and I get it, and it's very well done by the person that did it. Like, I mean, if you're gonna make
did you read out that sandwich?
Yeah, I did. I did. Sandwich. Yes, I did. I did say sandwich. I did. And then the author corrected themselves. I meant sandwich. And he said, no, too late. Yes, I
too
did.
late.
Anyway, channel shout outs. Go ahead, Lee, because you're
Okay.
starving. I don't want to be blamed on starving you to death, man. So go ahead.
Twitter at The Problem Being, YouTube at Ordred. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Okay, if I can find it.
PD.
Find me on Rabbis. I was on the Facebook a little while ago. It was quite fun talking about Red Dwarf. And go to Gobby Guys and Jack May's channel.
Fantastic. And don't forget to check out Scottish Stavros and Friends Wrestle Pop Culture. And I was wrong about the stream tomorrow. It's actually next Saturday. That was my booby on that one. So yeah, or is it 2 weeks? I'm getting confused now. I'm all over the place. But Daniel will let us know in the chat when his stream is. But it's happening one Saturday sometime in the next week or two. I just, I've got so much going on in my head. Information. I'm just losing information now. Anyway, yeah, we'll be back here on Monday. So enjoy your weekend. Stay out of trouble. Look after yourselves and all of that. And thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. And thank you to my panelists, me regular co-host, Lee. Thank you for joining me tonight, pal. It's been a pleasure as always.
My pleasure.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
And of course, the two of them are getting their wires crossed because I was talking to Lee there. But PD, thank you for standing in for Chris. We really appreciate it.
No worries. Was around.
Fantastic. And as I said, we will try get another special guest next week. So tune in. And next week we'll be covering obviously more of Hollywood. We'll try not to get bogged down on DC as much next week. There just was a lot of DC news to cover. So hopefully next week will be DC-less. Haha. There, you see what I did there? No, that wasn't funny. Anyway, I'm the only one that's laughing. I'm going to leave it there. Good night, folks. Have a good one. Enjoy your weekend. And thanks to everybody in the chat. We will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.